Demonic Dream Master Freddy Krueger has been forgotten by the town of Springwood thanks to a massive cover up. To escape from hell, he needs to be remembered, but he's not strong enough to cause any damage. To wreak havoc in his name, Freddy unleashes Crystal Lake's own Jason Voorhees on the unsuspecting teenagers of Springwood. It works at first, but Jason won't stop. Pretty soon, the two slashers are at odds with one another in the 2003 horror crossover, Freddy versus Jason. I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
I'm Caleb J.
And this is the last FILMGAZM. Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to the final episode of this incarnation of the FILMGAZM podcast. Never thought I'd say that, but here we are. If you listened to last weekend's Oscar Sunday on the China Syndrome, then you won't be surprised to learn that this is the last FILMGAZM, or rather the last of this version of FILMGAZM. In a decision that surprised even us, we're ending all four of our current shows: Oscar Sunday, Beyond the Bad, Fake True Stories, and FILMGAZM. Going forward, we'll be producing one singular show made from the best parts of everything we've done over the past 4 years. Fitting that we're ending this on a 4-year anniversary episode, and I cannot wait to produce the many, many ideas we've got for the new show, which we're simply calling the FILMGAZM Podcast. So we're not going away. We're just changing into something better, and I think it's going to be good for everybody.
Yeah, we're going to do this, take a little bit of a breather. So I think if I'm correct, there'll be a few weeks of no content.
Not
going away, just taking a breather, recouping, and then come back with something better. Instead of trying to stretch stuff over multiple episodes a week, one really solid episode that can be anything we want it to be, where it's spotlighting a film like we have been, or having just a little more loose-goosey fun. So it should be a lot of fun, and a way to keep us more recharged instead of feeling like we, the occasional episode where we feel like, oh, we got to do this, as opposed to being excited to do it. Because at the end of the day, we have day jobs, so it's so this is a good way to keep us invested and having a good time and having fun with this, as it should be.
If you equate this to like a hobby, say like model trains, we've basically been trying to build our own full-size train station with no funding. So scale it back, go back to what made this fun, and just keep doing, keep having fun. That's what it's all about.
For anyone who plays those games like Elden Ring and Dark Souls and Demon Souls, we're basically like the main character at the beginning of the game getting our ass handed to us by the big scary boss.
We've done some cool shit. We've done some really fun episodes. We've also done some subpar, could have been better. We weren't that invested episodes. And going forward, we're going to pretty much nip that and focus only on talking about stuff we want to talk about with people who want to talk about it at a time that actually works for everybody. So it's going to be a blast. This is going to be the best phase of this whole damn thing. And, but first we got to say goodbye to this phase with Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah, and in no way has Connor taken the phases from the MCU. In no way, shape, or form.
No. This phases existed before Marvel. You can say something's a phase without talking about superhero movies.
I have no idea what you're talking about. It's only been a phase since Marvel's existence.
Phase 1 was the early stuff I was doing before I met Austin. Phase 2 has been the last 4 years. Phase 3 is a couple weeks and whatever happens after that. So there you go.
That means if we go by Marvel standards, by the time we whatever we do for phase 4 will be the most mediocre stuff we've ever done. Shots fired.
In phase 4, I'm going to disappear and some new guy's going to pop in for a while, and the content's going to be watchable but weird, and something's going to be off, and there's going to be way too fucking much of it. And then I'll come back for phase 5, but everyone will already be soured and no one will care.
Shots fired at Ant-Man, the Wasp's Quantumania. Humongous drop off after its first weekend.
It lost to a bear on cocaine ripping apart idiots in the woods.
You know what? Look, as an MCU fan, I'm not even mad about that. I am happy because look, if you haven't seen Cocaine Bear, go watch Cocaine Bear. It's
I liked them
a lot of
both.
fun.
I liked Ant-Man and I liked Cocaine Bear. Like, I'm just happy to see a movie that I like getting box office numbers.
I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy to see an outrageously original, crazy concept movie like Cocaine Bear do as well as it does. Like, gives me hope that
I hope Elizabeth Banks makes good on her promise for Cocaine Shark.
yes,
Fucking wild. But yeah, it's good when original content makes a splash, especially when it's beating franchise tentpoles.
yeah, it gives me hope that hey, there's still hope that we can get original content, and let's keep that going. I'm just saying, in March, let's keep it going, guys. Yes, I know we got John Wick Chapter 4 coming out, which looks awesome. Scream 6, which looks great. Creed 3, which looks great. But then there's that little movie called 65, produced by Sam Raimi, Adam Driver, starring dinosaurs, future. Should be what Jurassic World Dominion was supposed to fucking be. Let's make this stuff successful, guys.
Also, go see Inside, which looks very chilling and exciting. Willem Dafoe, an art thief, gets trapped in a penthouse and has to figure his way out of there before he basically runs out of oxygen.
Ooh.
Yeah, looks great. Check out the trailer for that. It looks weird.
Okay, I will have to check the trailer for that one.
Basically, they had me at Dafoe.
Yeah, he's always a good bet.
Yeah. Going forward, I'm looking forward to just kind of spontaneous podcast conversation on whatever the fuck. It's going to be very little scripted. We're just gonna riff. Our best shit is when we're just riffing. It's gonna be great. So, do you remember the first time you saw Freddy versus Jason?
Yeah, when I finally picked up the Blu-ray. This is one of those films. I was very kind of late on it because being the oldest and being raised in a religious household, had to really kind of sneak some stuff. This is one of those I remember when it came out, all the kids in school were talking, like the ones who were cool enough to watch it with their older siblings or when the parents went to bed. And this was back when, Blockbuster and stuff still existed. So, in a small town, for those, in case you didn't know, the small town equivalent was always some horribly named video rental store. I think ours was literally called Movie Shack in Blanco. And when it hit there and people, kids would rent it, and you would hear, I heard about it in the schoolyard all the time. Oh man, Freddy versus Jason! You won't believe the stuff they did. Oh, the rave scene, like it was like the most talked about goddamn movie, because it was Freddy versus Jason, and I didn't ever have a chance to watch it. It took me years, but then one day when I was, building up my Nightmare collection and my, Friday 13th collection, back when I was getting like the DVDs, those fucking old ass DVD sets, I don't have them anymore. I was like, well, I need to get Freddy vs. Jason. And the Blu-ray was out at the time. It was like $10. I convinced my parents to let me get it. I was like, yes. I popped it in and I fell in love. I wore that Blu-ray out. I still have it, even though I got like 2 other goddamn copies of this movie. But I wore it out. It was like when I got Halloween on Blu-ray and I just wore the shit out of it. The original, not Rob Zombie's, hey, you know what? I don't mind Rob Zombie's take. I know, hot take. But I loved every second of it. I was like, this movie is awesome. And like to me, it's one of those kind of like how I felt like again, it's actually kind of nice. We talked about Cocaine Bear at first. It's a movie that had this title of like, okay, the 2 icons duking it out. Let's go. And I thought it lived up to it. I thought compared to a certain movie called Halloween Ends, it actually lived up to the much like hyped and the much advertised fight, with these 2 going at it. And it's sad that like obviously rights issues with other horror movie characters kind of stopped any sequels from happening. But what we got, I thought was a lot of fun. I love it to this day. Like I said, I got 3 copies because I just buy upgraded Friday 13th sets and they keep coming with it. So I just keep ending up owning another copy of it.
That's funny. I love that you just keep having this movie. I can see like 2 copies of it behind you right now.
Yeah, you got there's my signed copy up top and the Friday 13th set I got signed when Paramount got their or New Line and Paramount worked together to bring out that set. Which I remember when I got that signed at convention, they were even like, "How did you get this?" Like they forgot about it. I was like, "Oh, I picked it up when it came out. Like I was a broke ass college student. I was determined to get it." And then and I got it now with the Scream Factory Friday 13th set that came out, and I got it with that now. So, and that's actually I have seen each copy. So I've seen my individual copy. I've watched the other one, and when I did this episode to do it, I actually watched the Screen Factory one. So I've watched all my copies.
That's good. Yeah, I got to start doing that. When Freddy versus Jason came out, I was 8, and I had not seen any like legit horror movies all the way through. I was terrified of horror movies when I was a kid. I didn't want to get scared. I was terrified of the idea that I could get scared. I think my 9th or 10th birthday, this kid gave me a copy of Jason X on DVD. And I was like, who's Jason? And he was like, he explained to me what Friday the 13th was. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm thinking like, oh, I'm not going to watch this. This is too much. It's too much for me. And, but curiosity, won out. I put it on. And as soon as Jason dunked that girl's head in liquid nitrogen and shattered it on the counter, I was like, this is new. Whoa. And I watched Jason X. Soon after that, I was at a birthday party for this kid, Alex, who was kind of one of those like skater asshole kids. And I was invited probably because his mom told him to invite the whole class. And it was like a sleepover. And they rented Freddy versus Jason on pay-per-view. And that movie started. And I remember, like, I didn't know who Freddy was, but I remember Jason. And I thought, oh, neat. And we started watching it. And that was the first time I ever saw boobs in a movie. So right there, I'm like, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen. Because I don't think I kept... Oh, yeah, with Jason, I remember, yeah, my mom told me to turn it off, Jason X, because it got too violent. I remember that, like, after the Jason X, after the head smash, I think my mom was watching it with me to screen it, and she was like, nope, too much.
I like how that was too much. Not like the boobs are in that movie.
That hadn't happened yet. Or if it did, she like clamped her hand over my eyes. But Freddy versus Jason, just open shirt, like, holy shit. I can, and we were just like, wow. And then the movie happened and I got into it. I was like, this is cool. Fred, dreams? He can kill you in your dreams? Whoa. What? Oh, this is neat. And then they turned it off because they wanted to play Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. And I was the only one being like, well, I want to keep watching the movie.
I'll say, look, well, I love the Grand Theft Auto series, and San Andreas is a great game. I would have at least finished the movie and then played it. Like,
well, see, playing San Andreas meant we all watched Birthday Boy play San Andreas.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
Yeah, that wasn't very fun. And I was, halfway. It was right about the time the Mark got killed. That was when they stopped, and I was like, but what? I didn't even get to see Freddy fight Jason. And it took years for me to get that movie again and finally watch the rest of it.
Jesus, that would make me. And so I've been, obviously we were all kids, went to friends' houses. If you ever put a movie on, we finished the movie and then played the game, or played the game and then stopped it to watch the movie.
Yeah, one after another. You don't just interrupt shit to go do something else as a group because Birthday Boy is now like the cult leader and what he says goes. I'm still bitter about that shit. That was like 5th grade, and I'm still like, damn it, Alex.
Yeah, it just means I'm not hanging out with that kid ever again. That's why I'm like, no, well, fuck you, dude.
Well, eventually I watched Freddy versus. I think I told this last Filmgasm or Beyond the Bad, I think is when I talked about it. I bought the Blu-ray because I came into like $10 Amazon gift card or something, and I bought Freddy versus Jason. And I watched it. I'm like, I like this movie. Everyone else hates this movie, but I like this movie.
I like it. And like, look, we don't exactly get a lot of versus films. And let's be honest, yes, most of them suck. Like AVP, not that great. I don't think it's as bad as everyone makes it out to be. I don't think it's that great either. But
the best one to date is still Kramer versus Kramer. Fight me on that.
I was gonna say Batman v Superman. Shut the fuck up, Snyder fanboys. It sucked. It's not good.
But bitter divorce makes a man realize he has to step up and be a dad. It's a great movie.
Yeah, keep going back to Kramer versus Kramer.
It's a wonderful movie and a great human story and the beginning of a very loose cinematic universe.
And the best versus movie, in my opinion, is Freddy versus Jason. Look, I would have been mad if we didn't get like the verses, but like, what more do people want? We got, I'm sure we'll go more into the whole debacle with Jason, the actor. But we got two icons of cinema finally on the big screen after being promised this movie for over a fucking decade. A decade.
Way longer than that.
Well, I'm not counting when the glove popped up and Jason goes to hell. But yes. Well, it was in the 80s they were talking about this already. Late 80s, I believe, is when they started talking about it. So we took forever to get this, and it gave us simply what I wanted. The two characters duking it out in a flimsy, and look, it's the same thing you kind of feel like when people try to come after like the Friday 13th remake. They're like, he just doesn't have the spirit of the originals. How? It's a bunch of horny ass campers out in the woods and Jason fucking them up. Yes, the most you can give it is that he has a whole underground lair, but let's be honest, it kind of makes sense. Like it's a really genius way to be like, that's how he gets everywhere. Okay, makes sense to me. Same thing with this, like, guys, like it's two cinematic horror icons on screen together. Saying that we live in a world apparently where Crystal Lake and fucking Elm Street are like that goddamn close to each other. They've never interacted before anyway. And they found a way to make it work to get these two together and still do what people want to see them do in a movie, which is hack up teenagers for a little bit and then say, okay, here we go. And I'd argue of all the versus films I've watched, this one's the most satisfying. Batman v Superman, that fight sucked. Almost 3 hours and I got 5 goddamn minutes. AVP, not exactly the biggest climactic fight I was hoping for with those two, because it kept trying to worry about the human characters the most. I'm sure there's some more I'm forgetting, but this point is like this one actually. Oh yeah, Halloween Ends, that you fucking advertised the biggest fucking showdown. I got the most pitiful 5 minutes of my life. I had to sit through that goddamn pathetic excuse for a showdown. This movie gave me a goddamn showdown. It gave it to me.
The whole second half of Kramer versus Kramer is
I hate you.
The trial, the court case to try to win custody. That lives up.
Stop bringing up Kramer versus Kramer. Oh,
Best Picture winner, 1979.
You don't have Oscar Sunday anymore, so let's just.
We talked about that one early on. It was a great episode. We both cried. It's awesome.
I doubt we both cried on the episode. I'm not shitting on Kramer versus Kramer. Just dear God, man.
It's the you could sell that as a trilogy: Kramer versus Kramer, Freddy versus Jason, Alien versus Predator. You confuse a lot of people, but you could box set that.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, there's just not a lot of versus films out there, so you got to take what you can get, and one of them happens to be a very poignant family drama.
God.
Do you remember that Family Guy sketch, Kramer versus Predator?
Oh yeah.
Dustin Hoffman just gets shot with a shoulder blast. It was great. Moving on.
Let's go.
My question for you for this final iteration of this podcast is
if this is about Kramer versus Kramer, I want to kill you.
Do you think Dustin Hoffman deserved that Oscar? Do you really? No. My question is very simple. Freddy or Jason?
Jason.
Explain.
It's Jason.
No, I won't explain.
I will not. His name is enough. No, I've always been on Team Jason. Always. Like, yeah, Freddy has a dream world, but Jason is like a fucking unstoppable killing machine compared to Freddy. Like, nothing. Almost nothing. excuse me, almost nothing brings this guy down. He has come back consistently. He will use anything in his power to kill. Whereas, Freddy's biggest weakness, like once you bring him to the dream world, he's weak. He is weak. Now, yes, this movie does bring up the part of Jason being scared of water, but I would counter that it's the only movie that does that, because there's like 10 other films that show he is not scared of water one bit. So yeah, Jason all the fucking way.
Fair enough. In terms of character and design, yeah, it's Jason. But in terms of like performance and story, it's Freddy. I think Freddy has a cooler story. I love the idea of just a remorseless pedophile who gets.
Were we talking about? I thought we were talking about who would win this fight.
No, we're talking like which character do you like more?
Oh, I still stand by with Jason.
Yeah, I figured. That's why I wasn't gonna interrupt, because I'm like, well, I know you love Jason more. I figured that you were just talking about that.
No, I was talking about the fight.
Yeah, it's Jason. He's like 6'5" and indestructible. Yeah, he's gonna win. That's not even a no. Okay, even when they're fighting, I'm like, Jason's gonna fuck this guy up.
Yeah. Okay, well then explain Nightmare, and then I'll properly explain why I picked Jason.
Okay,
it's the film series.
The character of Freddy Krueger, I think, is he's fascinating. Just a remorseless pedophile who is executed by the parents of the kids he killed, and then comes back for revenge in their children's dreams. That is a really cool idea, and the power of Freddy to warp reality to his image and constantly fuck with people. It's awesome, and Robert Englund just brings this this sarcastic snark to the character that is so great. And I think he's got more good movies.
I don't stand with you on that statement, but
I'm not that big a fan of the Friday the 13th franchise. I've been very honest about that.
Yeah, it's fine. You're wrong. It's fine.
I like when he goes to space. I like when he fights Freddy, and I like when he came back as a zombie. The rest of it is you can kind of shelve.
Nope, it's all great. I'm like, you're just clearly wrong and don't get it. Now, how dare you? How dare you? Yeah, that's right. Drink your water. Now, no, I'll give you like the ideal and the concept of Freddy. I like a lot. The idea of like, yes, this guy is coming back and he fucks you up in his dreams. I would argue for me, and this is why I say like, I do generally think Friday has better movies than Nightmare, because Nightmare 1's great, 2's pretty good, 3's good, and then it declined real quick after that. Like 4, 5, and 6.
We got 3 shitty ones, and then we got New Nightmare. So
yeah, then you also have a shitty remake, and that it counts. It counts.
So does Friday the 13th.
No, Friday the 13th remake, I will die on that hill. That's a good remake. Now, it's a good goddamn remake. But yeah, you guys got the shitty Nightmare remake to deal with. But to me, the reason I kind of like didn't care for some of the later sequels to Nightmare is because I'm one of those, I'm like, I did not like how fine they made Freddy. Like Robert Englund, I'll give him credit. He gives it his all. Like that he is a reason Freddy works. I just thought the camp factor went way too high in those later sequels, whereas with like New Nightmare, the third one, the first one, the second one, even Freddy vs. Jason, when you have him striking that balance between scary but also that humor, it works really well. Like he is good at doing both.
At least those movies are something different every time. At least they tried to be different. Friday the 13th is the same thing every single time. No variations.
But again, hear me out. Listen, it's also the absolute backbone to the slasher franchise. Not Halloween, Friday the 13th. Halloween opened the door. Friday the 13th busts that shit open. Because remember, Friday the 13th was coming out every fucking year. Halloween was having to play catch up to it. Because Halloween 2 came out in 81, which did good. And then they did the little diversion with 3. And then we didn't get another Halloween film until 1988 with Halloween 4. So it had a huge break, whereas Freddy or Jason was back being the backbone. And yes, they were doing the same thing roughly. They didn't really do any variations until like probably part 6 onward, but they were trying to like, okay, we got to like vary this up. But the thing is, though, those films, especially to me after the first one, because even I can agree with people that think like the first one's not as good as like some of the later sequels. I'm of that. I'm like, this is one of the few cases where I think the sequels outshine the original when it comes to Friday 13th, because they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were. They said, hey, look, people want to see these fucking teenagers get hacked up, so let's do it. And that's what they delivered time and time again, was teenagers getting hacked up in extremely creative ways for the 80s. Yes, the NPA kind of came in and fucked some of those kills up, but they were doing it.
Yeah, but did they have to? Like, did we need that
Yes.
many Friday the 13th movies? Like,
Yes, because it was fun. It was a fun thing to go see. It was kind of like how we got Saw every year. Like there's always a horror franchise that this happens where we get something every year. Friday 13th was that in the 80s, where it was people's like our Saw when we were growing up that we got every single year. Like it was a chance for it to be like, oh shit, okay, we got a new Friday 13th. We know what we're fucking seeing, chasing fucking people up.
all right, fair enough. I don't know. I think I'm more partial to Freddy just for the story, and New Nightmare especially is so fucking innovative that
I'm not saying Nightmare doesn't have a better story. It absolutely, but I mean that's because of Russ Craven. Then you get Frank Darabont with the third one. Like, I'm not saying that. And then look, trust me, we know all we have our feelings are known about Sean S. Cunningham. But
weirdly, just to preview, he's going to be kind of the good guy in today's tale, which is unique.
very strange. But again, like I'm one of those that like a movie. Sure, when a movie embraces what it is, I'm like again, we talked about Cocaine more recently. Embrace what it was, and I had a good time. That's what Friday 13 did mostly after part one, with a lot of its sequels. It just embraced what it was. It said, "Look, we know what you're here for. You're here to see teenagers get naked, do drugs, drink, and then Jason come in and fuck them up. That's what you're here for. That's what we're giving you. Enjoy."
Okay, agree to disagree.
Just like the Saw series was like, hey, you want traps? You got traps. And more convoluted story than we can fucking explain.
I'd argue that the continuity for Saw is way tighter than it has any business being.
I'm
really impressed with that.
The only way I would kind of argue that is the more recent stuff like Jigsaw and Spiral that starts pulling the Secret Apprentice, and I guess Spiral's just not being mentioned in the upcoming Saw movie at all. Like,
well, okay, it was when it was a yearly effort that 1 through 7 are tight.
The initial run, yes, I'd argue actually that one, and actually Found Us Nation, because of how they wrote it, had really good continuity too, because they were like, all we gotta do is new teenage cast with Death Killing Them. Sweet. Like their continuity was fine.
Well, regardless, they're both cinematic icons that made money, that became cultural, significant cultural figures, and led to this spinoff that was one of those instances of where you're not going to be able to please everybody. So, do what you can.
Yeah, I mean, as we've seen with especially with the internet stuff nowadays, people just like to complain. Like the big hot topic for the longest time was obviously the whole Hogwarts Legacy controversy and people complaining about that. I'm not getting into it too detailed here, but people just like to complain, right? And bitch about something. So it's a tell as old as time. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of fans that went, "Oh my god, we're finally getting this movie! Holy shit, let's go! Like, let's have a good time!" And they did. I'm sure there's plenty. There's just many people that just want to sit there and be nitpicky and like, oh, there wasn't enough Jason, there wasn't enough Freddy. Oh, why did we get all these teenage characters? I just want 90 minutes of fighting. No, you fucking don't. You know what I mean? Like, it just happens. It happens every time. There's contrarians galore when they go see movies.
I think this movie continued the age-old slasher trope of 30-year-old teenagers fighting monsters, and that's delightful. Especially that line where Will's like, we can't trust any of the adults. Like, dude, you're 35.
Dude, I remember when I was like a kid and I thought that's what teenagers looked like. And I got older and I was like, and now that I'm 30, I'm like, these aren't teenage. These are clearly adults. How did I ever think these people were teenagers as a kid?
It's really amazing. Like, yeah, now I can't watch these movies without thinking like you couldn't find any 16 to 19-year-old good actors to do this. You went straight for the millennials.
Yeah, and what's crazy is I watch other movies where they do have teenagers, like Catherine Newton, recently in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then Freaky. Um, I could believe she was a teenager because she's only like 23, 24, 25, somewhere around there. So I'm like, oh yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah, we'll get more into that when we talk about the film. But let's talk about how this thing came about because it is quite a doozy. The road to production for Freddy versus Jason was lined with potholes and road condemned signs. Like this was not supposed to ever actually happen. And
it was literally start and stop traffic for hours.
It was like a series of cosmic accidents finally led this thing to fruition. And then nothing came about, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But here we go.
Hit too. Box office hit too for both franchises.
Huge success. And then it was over. Both franchises stopped until 2009 with Friday 2009 and then Elm Street 2010. And that's also been it for both of those franchises.
Yeah, with the only hope somehow now being Friday 13th. Now that's gone out of a lot of its legal entanglements. It has hope, but we are still almost nothing on Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. Jason has escaped from development hell and he's on his way home. It is going to take a while for him to get there, but he's out.
He's out. God, I do look for a day that like I get to be in a theater and see a trailer for a fucking Friday 13th movie.
I'm picturing like Shawshank, like Jason sends Freddy a postcard that says like, if you came this far, you might be willing to come a little further. I hope to see my friend again one day. Like that's what it feels like. Freddy's the only one still there. Like, when do I get mine?
Right. I would love if they do like a teaser where it's like the famous Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 trailer that was just like the black screen and noises and the chainsaw. They need to do something like that with like Friday, like just a bunch of noises and machete slashing through the screen, going, "He's back."
Something, everyone's gotten their, Michael Myers got his new trilogy. Chucky's got a TV show. Leatherface had his Netflix reboot or requel, whatever you want to call it.
Even Pinhead
got a remake. Ghostface is going stronger than ever, and Freddy's just sitting there all by himself in solitary, like he doesn't get to play in the playground anymore. Like, come on, man, we got to shave his head, get him back on the monkey bars,
burn that face up again.
Oh boy, I'm sure it'll happen. It's not. This is a powerful, beloved franchise. It's not going to be in the dark forever.
No, eventually we'll get something.
So plans for a Freddy versus Jason movie had been in motion since the late 80s. The idea of competing studios working together for a single goal is fairly unheard of, but in 1987, New Line, which owned Freddy, and Paramount, which owned Jason, attempted to negotiate a crossover movie. And you do not see that anymore. Like, it's either one or the other. I mean, a little bit, with Disney and Sony, but even then it was more of a rental agreement.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of saw it recently, actually, with the Halloween movies that came out from Blumhouse, and the Akkads. I was supposed to say Mustafa, but the Akkads worked out a deal to get that trilogy made, and then but again, once the trilogy got made, guess who it went back to? The Akkads, so they can shop shit around to the studio if they need to. So,
yeah, just doesn't. I get it. Every studio wants to, they want to be the first name on the, so and so presents. It's an ego trip. It's a money thing. I get it.
It's an ego trip that if they just everything right, everyone would profit off it, but no one wants to fucking think.
No. Compromise is a dirty word in Hollywood. So they attempted to negotiate the crossover movie. An agreement could not be made. And when Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, bombed at the box office in 1989, original franchise owner Sean Cunningham sought to reacquire the rights to Friday the 13th and refocus on a Freddy versus Jason movie. So he thought, Jason tanked, maybe teaming with Freddy can save this franchise. And so he held on to that for the next 20-something years. Basically, the problem like when you get down to the root of it, New Line wanted to license Jason and make a Nightmare on Elm Street movie with Jason in it, while Paramount wanted to license Freddy and make a Friday the 13th movie with Freddy in it. Nobody wanted to relinquish an ounce of control.
Which is it's like, just make both. I mean, granted, that's what they finally did, but like, all you had to do was make both. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. They just played tug of war, and eventually they just got tired of playing.
Yeah, I wonder if that explains some of like, I mean, Cunningham's always kind of been like a dick, for lack of a better word, but some of the stuff that Adam Marcus, the director of Friday 13th, or sorry, Jason Goes to Hell, the Final Friday, had said about him in regards to like, he did not have kind things to say about him, basically. Not kind things at all.
Well, Jason Takes Manhattan, Jason Goes to Hell, and Jason X were all afterthoughts because Cunningham really wanted Freddy versus Jason, but he had to make those in order to hold on to Jason. So he didn't give a shit about any of those movies.
Yeah, well, I mean, he literally told Adam Marcus when he hired him to do Part 9, and straight up told him, was like, get rid of, I don't want the fucking mask in the movie. And he was like, you're asking me to do a Friday 13th without Jason's mask. Basically without Jason. Which is why we got the movie we got. He had to find a way to make that shit work. Then, of course, when the movie also tanked, because it tanked, I think almost as hard, if not harder, than Part 8, guess what Cunningham did? Blamed the fresh, young, 20-something-year-old director that he told to take the mask out of the fucking movie.
Yeah, he's not, I admire his tenacity for working to get Freddy versus Jason made, but he hurt a lot of careers in the process of making that happen. And he's always been very possessive of this franchise and has halted a lot of cool ideas and a lot of attempted reboots, and has just continued to hurt more careers. So I don't like him at all, but
the franchise
he's the hero of this episode.
Yeah, well, that and the franchise now, because he is a big reason we have not gotten. So he's, because the whole thing with the lawsuit, it's to the point that it's not even hurting the careers, it's hurting the franchise. Like, it's like, dude. And apparently Adam Marcus has straight up said the guy doesn't even like horror films. Like, these are just this is just a money cash grab to him because he knows he can make money off it. I'm like, but you can't if you're stuck in fucking court, because you can't just get your head out of your ass.
Yeah. Everyone is taught in kindergarten how to share. And I assumed everybody holds on to that, but apparently some people don't. So Cunningham soldiered on, but before he could pitch Freddy versus Jason a few years later, Wes Craven came back to Elm Street and released New Nightmare to critical and fan acclaim. So the crossover was shelved again. Now everyone was like, oh, Freddy's back on top. We don't need Jason. And Jason's like, but we need you, Freddy. I love picturing in my mind's eye. I love like Freddy and Jason actually like pitching themselves to the studios. Like they're the ones trying to make this work.
Yeah. I mean, look, I will say this with the I know I like Friday 13 more, but yes, like Nightmare really went from like Freddy's Dead, which was God, I hate that movie. To New Nightmare, which was like, holy shit, what a turnaround. Whereas Friday 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan, the Final Friday. I like Jason X, but obviously there's the stigma of any horror franchise going to space. So,
like, what's your beef with space? Just because Jason and the Leprechaun did it, no one can do it.
Hellraiser did it.
Oh yeah, and Hellraiser in space that one time,
and Amityville recently.
I know. You've been listening to Fake True Stories.
Well, yeah, and also because you know me, I keep up with this shit, and I had heard about that, and I was like, there's no way there's a fucking Amityville in space movie coming out.
It is literally the house gets exorcised, and it shows up in space, and now there's like ghosts in space. That's a real fucking movie. I can't believe that.
I've seen the cover for it, and I'm like, that's outrageous.
Yeah. If you're going to do that shit, yeah, people are going to be pissed when your franchise goes to space.
Yeah. Hell, Critters went to space, for Christ's sakes.
The crossover was shelved. Again, Cunningham went to work on Jason Goes to Hell, the Final Friday, which infamously teased the crossover at the film's end, which was ambitious. Like, you have nothing planned at all, but get everybody excited when Freddy's glove comes out of the ground and grabs the mask, and everyone was like, what? and then crickets for 13 years.
Dude, that, and then think about that, like that, and then when Bride of Chucky came out. Now, luckily with Bride of Chucky, they were upfront about no lead into a crossover, but that had the whole like Jason's mask and Leatherface's chainsaw. Granted, that was like, oh my god, but luckily they were very upfront that like, no, we're not leading to a damn crossover. It's just a cool little, Easter egg.
Easter eggs are good, but definitely this was guess what we're doing next, fuckers.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like, god damn it.
This was Cunningham trying to force New Line and Paramount's hand. It's like, well, we promised the fans. Are you going to let the fans down? That's what that was.
Yeah, he was forcing their hands, and it's so like we kind of talked about, and that's a whole episode whenever if we ever like get around to talking about Jason Goes to Hell, but fucking over a director in the process.
Yeah,
a young one, a fresh, young director that was hungry to do something and was like, oh my god, I just got hand Friday 13th. Are you kidding me?
True. So obviously nothing came about this, but fun fact, the glove was worn by horror icon Kane Hodder, making him, I believe, the only actor in film history to have played both Jason and Freddy at one point.
Yep.
That's fucking cool. More on Kane Hodder later. He's going to come out looking really screwed in this episode.
Because he was, but we'll get to that.
Yep, he was. Wes Craven thought Freddy versus Jason was a terrible idea. He said, quote, "This is taking something that had a lot of impact and dignity and dragging it down to another level," which is hilarious. Like Elm Street meant something, and I don't want my boy Freddy playing with your weird kid Jason.
Right? Look, as much as I love Wes Craven to death, one of my all-time favorite directors. Come on, man. Like, come on. Like, let it happen.
I love that though. He's like, no, this means something to people. So get that weird hockey mask out of here. Ugh.
That's when I would have been like, Wes, I love you, but like, let's be honest. This movie was a big reason because of the success of the slasher boom, and guess who helped with that success? Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Plus, just to play devil's advocate here, you don't get to make a movie like Cursed and then talk about dragging another franchise down to your level. Like, buddy, you got some duds. Admit it.
I will say, as much as I love Wes Craven, I've never seen like a director that like can hit hard but miss so hard too.
Yeah, it is. It's weird. So
I love a lot of his movies, so let that be known.
So do I. While Cunningham continued trying to make this happen, he produced Jason X to keep the franchise alive in the meantime. Jason X was also a box office bomb and ironically killed all interest in a potential crossover with Elm Street.
God, yep.
The more he kept trying to preserve this thing, the more he kept pushing Freddy versus Jason out of everyone's minds.
Right? 3 strikes and you're out. Like, okay. Dude, I remember when like Jason X came out and like we go to like Walmart or something and there was like the stands of like Jason X and like, them trying to really sell those DVDs. You remember that like Walmart when they used to actually have like the stand just dedicated to like one fucking movie? I remember like Jason X. I remember like fucking seeing like Jason X and Halloween was Resurrection and like all the late like 2000s horror films that are still trucking along.
God, if you to be a slasher fan in like between like 99 to 2002 must have been just depressing. Yeah, you had nothing.
True. Yeah. I mean, Halloween Resurrection.
Yeah, trick or treat, motherfucker. That's what you had. That's the best you could do.
I remember being so intrigued by that fucking DVD cover. I was like, ooh, Halloween Resurrection. I remember they would like sell that with Halloween H2O and be like, oh my god, there's 2 of these.
I remember the first time I watched Halloween Resurrection was on Netflix. I had only seen Halloween 1 and 2, the originals at that point. And I remember thinking, why is Jamie Lee Curtis's hair short on the cover, but long in the movie? What's up with it? I was so confused by that.
Oh yeah, because then it got explained later they had to put a wig on her because she was doing something else when she came to do Halloween Resurrection.
Freaky Friday, probably.
I forget what the movie was. I remember she had her short hair and they had to put a wig on her.
Yeah. And she was like, I'll do it one more time, but you better fucking kill me. And then with the new one, she's like, I'll do it one more time, but I better fucking kill it.
And then I'll do 2 more sequels. I think she's good now, though.
Yeah, she's good. She's an Oscar-nominated actress now, so she doesn't have to do these movies anymore.
Look at her. I'm proud of her.
Oh, that felt cold. I'm sorry I said that. I feel bad now. It took a lot of different writers, producers, and a lot of persistence to finally get a draft finalized. The concept went through many different titles, including Nightmare 13, Freddy Meets Jason, Freddy versus Jason Millennium Massacre, and
they did not call it Millennium Massacre.
They almost did, but my all-time favorite, they almost called it Jason versus Freddy. That was a big point of contention. Whose name's going first?
God damn it. You know what's crazy too about that name thing? At this point, I don't know if you mentioned it, New Line bought Friday the 13th. Which is why if you buy box sets, it is Paramount will release the first 8 in a box set because they own the first 8, but then everything after that is owned by New Line, which is why the Screen Factory set's a big deal because they got all of the movies. So the fact that at this point in time, New Line owns both goddamn franchises, they have it all, and they're like having an internal debate on whose goddamn name goes first. How about which one sounds better? Jason versus Freddy or Freddy versus Jason? Which one rolls off the tongue more?
I think that's ultimately what they went with. But yeah, if that purchase hadn't happened, they'd still be debating this shit today.
God.
Ultimately, newcomers Mark Swift and Damian Shannon wrote the final product after impressing producer Michael DeLuca with their pitch. They had never done anything. And they show up with like, hey, I got a Freddy versus Jason pitch for you. And Michael DeLuca's like, you're hired. Like, what the fuck? Like, established writers have been trying their hand at this for 20 years. These guys show up and are like, boom, I got the cure for what ails you. And they went with it. They'd write 2009's Friday the 13th and then the 2017 Baywatch movie, and then they'd disappear.
Damn, they got burned by Baywatch?
Yep. Unreal.
Okay. Again, I'll defend Friday 1309. I think it's a fucking awesome remake. I mean, hey, good for them. It's interesting that they went with these new, quote unquote new guys to do it instead of like all the various established names that were coming through. It's like, oh, you want us to do a Freddy versus Jason or a Millennium Killing movie, as what the fuck dumb title that was?
Dude, the pitches that got thrown in here, like there was going to be a cult of Freddy worshippers. They were going to fight in hell. Like it got so crazy. So I think these guys took a less is more approach, and that kind of calmed everybody down.
Probably, yeah. Like, hey, let's go with the basics and lead into the fight.
Yeah, exactly. To direct this highly anticipated event film, many names were considered.
Oh boy.
Wes Craven, Guillermo del Toro, and Ronnie Yu all declined. More on Ronnie Yu later.
So I'll say interesting. He declined.
Yep. I love that Wes Craven was even offered it. It's like, hey, I know how much you hate this, but do you want to make it?
Look, that's just Rob Shea being fucking, or Bob Shea. Sorry, Bob Shea being Bob Shea. Like, let's be honest here. Bob Shea, kind of a bad guy, also.
Yeah, producers are never the good guys ever.
Yeah, not as bad as Cunningham, but not good either. Because he's the biggest reason Nightmare became a franchise, which, obviously for better and for worse, but is why him and Wes Craven had a falling out. They got along again briefly, and then they had another falling out, I believe. Which is why it may seem controversial now, but it's why Wes Craven had a relationship with the Weinstein Company, because of the shit that kind of happened between him and Bob Shea. Don't seem controversial now, obviously, because things we know about Harvey, but that's just how that happened.
What a Sophie's choice that is to bring it back to Meryl Streep.
Yeah, right. But yeah, oh god, dude, I feel like that's what this amounted to. It was like Bob Shea and Cunningham's egos like not stopping, just rampant. Like, no, this is what we're doing. No, this is what I'm doing.
Pretty much.
And I can imagine Bob Shea to get one up on Russ Kerns. Like, look, I know you don't like the idea of this, but we kind of want you to direct because we're the house at Furry Belt now, aren't we? I mean, we're the reason your movie's a huge success. Wes.
I wonder if he pulled the "You Owe Me" card. I bet he did.
Oh, he had to. I'm sure he did.
I created you.
Direct the crossover. Right? How none of like the directors from Friday the 13th were asked, like not a single goddamn one of them.
Yeah, nobody.
Not even Cunningham. Cunningham's like, no, I'm not fucking directing this shit.
And then Guillermo del Toro, for some reason, it's like, hey, you've made horror films. Please help us. And he's like, no, I'm making Hellboy.
Doing my passion project.
Speaking of passion project, guess who else was offered the role?
Oh god damn it.
Rob Zombie.
What?
And he said Rob Zombie was offered the project and he said, no, I'm going to make House of a Thousand Corpses and I'm going to do it my way.
Yeah, I'm not even mad about that because I love House of a Thousand Corpses.
It's a big thing with the director. Why so many people kept turning this very cool project down is the insane lack of control they would have over it. This was a producer-driven project from A to Z, and the director is just showing up and pointing the camera. There's no input whatsoever. That's why these guys kept saying no.
Yeah, and especially like in Rob Zombie's case, I mean, obviously what we knew about him is that he likes to do what he wants to do with his films, as was very evident recently, last year with the Monsters, more than ever for people. And I said as someone that didn't even hate it, like I thought it was fine. Okay, I'd put fine like a 3-star out of 5, probably, someone like him who wants that kind of creative control with stuff on his first film, because if he's choosing this to go, denying this over House that House of Course was his film debut. So I mean, he's turned down saying like, no, I want my debut to be something that I had a lot of me in it, not this. Because yes, you're absolutely right. Like I can't imagine, again, thinking about the producers involved, specifically Bob Shea and Sean S. Cunningham, how much of it was them driving this project.
Yeah. And ultimately they had to kind of realize, okay, we're the problem. And that I'll get to that in a second, but I got one more name for you. Okay. Jaume Balaguerro campaigned for the job. And he was turned down, but would later create the Record franchise.
Yeah, I was about to say, no shit.
Mm-hmm. He wanted the role. He's like, I'll do it. And they're like, you're not. No, thanks.
Look, let's be honest. It's those two. They probably went, you're not a white man. Just be gone. With those two.
Well, they gave it to an Asian, so I don't know about that.
They were probably confused. I feel like there's just with those two, like something like, oh, you're a first time you can be gone. I mean, joke's on them because they, like I said, you did the Wreck franchise, which I mean, granted, yes, everyone has their kind of feelings on that franchise after like the first 2 movies. But like that first one's great. It's like I've heard the second. I've seen the first and third ones. I've seen the odd numbered ones.
Well, he did 1 and 2 and 4. He didn't do 3.
Yeah, because he went to do something else, and then because it's not just him that did he had a directing partner that I cannot remember the name of right now for the life of me. His directing partner stayed on for the third Wreck, where I remember he went to go direct. So I cannot remember because that was the thing, he was directing something else. I can't fucking remember for the life of me though right now. But he went to go direct something else, and then they came back to finish it up with Wreck 4.
Well, they turned him down and ultimately went back to Ronnie Yu, who accepted the job after being given a lot more creative freedom. They told him, all right, fine, you can do it your way. And he's like, I'll take it.
I like how they were probably like, they probably even said like that. I'm like, you guys, why would you even sound begrudging about that? Like, this is the guy that gave us Bride of fucking Chucky. Like,
that's it. Yeah, that's why, he was a Hong Kong filmmaker who had previously helmed Bride of Chucky for wow, what company made Chucky again?
I know MGM did the first one. Oh fuck me.
Yeah, whatever. He made Bride of Chucky, but that's it. Like everything else he's done is Hong Kong based. So it is weird. I feel like they took a gamble on this guy.
I mean, they in their eyes they did. I doubt it was really that much of a gamble. Um, but at some I don't know why to them because again, for anyone who can talks to a horror fan, like Bride of Chucky is a fan favorite film in that franchise. You know what I mean? Like it's a really good one. Um, Don Mancini's talked highly about that particular one. Ronnie Yu's direction and stuff in interviews. Like he has nothing but nice things to say when it comes to Bride. Really the whole franchise. He's a great. He's always real nice to it. Obviously. So like, why wouldn't you trust the guy that gave you like a fan favorite installment in one franchise, coming off of a sequel that a lot of people didn't like? Child's Play 3 is really not that bad, if we're being honest with ourselves. It's not great, but it's not terrible. But he does that. Why wouldn't you trust him with a Freddy versus Jason film? Like, why wouldn't you trust him?
I just find it so weird that it was so hard to get somebody to do this. Like you'd think that every horror director out there would want to throw their hat in the ring for this one.
Well, I mean, if they're turning it down because of creative control, what were they telling them they can't do? That's probably what it was.
Oh, we're gonna get to that in my Filmgasm facts. I have the reason why so many people said no. Basically, it was who would win.
Oh my!
Some people were like, "I like Jason more. I want Jason to win." Other directors were like, "Well, I want Freddy to win." And not Universal, New Line was like, "No, this is who's going to win." And they're like, "Well, I don't like it that way." And they're like, "Well, tough." And Ronnie Yu was like, "I just want to get paid." And they're like, "All right, I like it." So yeah, it's basically what it amounts to. But we'll get more into that later. So thankfully, Robert Englund returned as Freddy Krueger for one last ride. If he hadn't been in this, I don't think anybody would have seen it. Considering, if the debacle with Jason, if they also had recast Freddy, no,
no. And if it would have come out, it would have been considered. It would have been viewed in a much different light nowadays.
Freddy versus Jason, Jackie Earle Haley versus Derek Mears. No disrespect to Derek Mears.
I actually really like his Jason.
As for Jason, everyone pretty much expected Kane Hodder to return to the role, including Hodder himself. He was shown the script, said, "Hey, we're making Freddy versus Jason. Isn't that awesome?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then they didn't cast him as Jason, which is so weird. Like, why tell him about it? Why give him the script? It's such a strange move.
It's strange too, because I know you watched it before we recorded the to Hell and Back to Kane Hodder story. But it's like, and for those like he became a fan favorite. He is to this day the fan favorite Jason. Like he has played him the longest because before he came along, it was usually a different actor each every single installment. And then he came along, he stayed, and he brought a different element to it. And again, was to me one of the biggest proponents of like why I say like not just anyone can play these silent killers like Jason and like Michael and whatnot. Like it does take an actor that's able to convey emotion without saying a word, and their face is hidden by a mask and pounds and pounds of fucking makeup and costuming. And he brought it, and he made that character his own, and he became a a huge hit with the fans because of his love for the character and his appreciation for the fans. So yeah, it was expected by him. It was expected by everyone to be like, yeah, hell yeah, if you're doing Freddy versus Jason, like you get Kane Hodder, and then they just turn around and say, no, we're going with someone else.
Yeah, there's conflicting reports about why Hodder was replaced by Canadian stuntman Ken Kersinger. The most consistent reason is New Line's intentions of reinventing Jason Voorhees with this movie. That was what they said. And the fact that Kersinger is 2 inches taller than Kane Hodder. Kersinger had previously doubled as Jason on Jason Takes Manhattan, but that's it. Reinventing is interesting. I don't see anything like, what did you reinvent?
Honestly, even with my love of this character in this franchise, like I don't see anything done differently that you could have just gotten Kane Hodder to come in and actually do.
Yeah, it's it's not cool.
Yeah, this Jason is the one I've seen in like all the other movies. Like, if you want to talk about reinvention, Kane Hodder already beat them too with Uber Jason and Jason X. So like, he already beat them there.
Ugh. In the 2017 documentary To Hell and Back, the Kane Hodder story, Hodder talks about how hurt he was by losing Jason. He played the character for 15 years over the course of 4 films and is considered by fans to be the definitive version of the character. Even Sean Cunningham lobbied hard to get Hodder the role again in Freddy vs. Jason. Never thought I'd be on his side with anything, but it didn't happen. And Hodder, it took him a long time to get over that. He was betrayed. He got the character he loved snatched out from under him with no explanation why.
Yeah, and in worst case, this was probably a Bob Shea move, more likely, because he's full of great ideals. Um, yeah, no, it sucks, and what's crazy is he's to this day he is down to put that shit, put that costuming back on. Like the Friday 13th game that came out, he came back and played Jason for the game. He mocapped for the game. Yeah, and the same company is actually now doing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. He mocapped as Leatherface. Yeah, yeah. So it's like he's more than willing to come back and do it to this fucking day. Like he's willing to mocap and do it. Like, why wouldn't you? The guy has the passion. He has to drive. He has the want to play this character. Why would you do that? And yeah, for once, Sean S. Cunningham, I'm on his side with that one of like, why wouldn't you? Especially like, and again, to me, what this reeks of more than anything is studio producers being petty. Like it reeks to me of maybe like more likely Cunningham got something he wanted and Bob Shea didn't want. So Bob Shea said, "Then fuck you. I'm not getting Kane Hodder in this movie."
Yeah, something
And
like
that's
that. When I decide who plays Jason, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. That's what it reeks of to me is producers just being petty, and again doing what they do best, which is cheating the fans out of something. And an actor that wanted the fucking part, like that's all you achieved. And again, I don't want to like say like Ken Kersinger did a terrible job. He does do a good Jason. He is good in the movie. I don't want to put him down too much. But it would have been like, and no offense to him, but yes, it would have been cooler, so much cooler to have Kane Hodder in this movie. Like, yes, I know Kane Hodder and Robert Englund have been in movies together, but to be in they were in Hatchet, they were in the first Hatchet together technically, but to have them in this movie as their iconic characters, we got robbed of that, and that would have been so fucking awesome.
Yeah, it absolutely would have. And Hodder has no ill will towards Ken Kersinger anyway. He knows that it wasn't his fault. They're still cool. Apparently, Kersinger just walked into the studio looking for stunt work, and they were like, "Holy shit, you're a tall motherfucker!" And he was Jason by the time he left the building.
Okay, so he's not. They're not. He's not. Yeah, I mean, he's not like Stallone with the Creed franchise right now.
No.
No offense to Stallone, but like direct your anger in the proper area, buddy. Not the people that are trying to keep the franchise alive. Or Dolph Lundgren, who apparently didn't even know her fucking spinoff was announced. Like
now Stallone's, literally like screaming outside his house, Drago. And he's really doing that in real life now.
Pretty much, yeah.
Real beef.
Yeah. I love how Dolph was like, dude, I did, but yeah. Yeah, no, again, that speaks to Kane Hodder's like character, right? To not sit there and be like, well, fuck this guy's like, hey, look, not his fault. Like, not his fault. The dude was looking for work and just ended up getting the role. Like, that's not on him. But again, that just speaks to me like Hodder's character and who he is as a person.
Real quick though, I do love like Dolph Lundgren was not told about the Drago spinoff, but then he heard about it and he's like, well, maybe. He didn't know, but he's like, it's a good script, sure.
Do you blame him? Like, I'd be like, well, I mean, sorry, Sly, but like, they want to do a movie with me, like.
I wonder if Dolph will be in Expendables 4 now.
Probably not.
Stallone does not forgive And he does not forget, as we learned when we did that Red Sonja episode. uh, so Hodder would later find success as the character Victor Crowley in the Hatchet franchise, while Kurzinger would continue his work as a stuntman in such films as Watchmen, X-Men The Last Stand, The Incredible Hulk 2012, and The Cabin in the Woods, which was his last credit as a stuntman. I think he might be retired.
Hey, you know what? Good for him. That's a lot of good films. I stand by Incredible Hulk 2012 whenever it came out. It's a good movie. I stand on the hill that is an underrated film.
That was two separate movies. It was The Incredible Hulk and then the movie 2012.
Oh, well, either way. 2012 is a lot of fun actually too. But yeah, I stand by Incredible Hulk being a good film. Yes, I know it's weird to watch because it's Edward Norton, because apparently they didn't listen to Feige and Buffalo did not get the part like he was supposed to for that movie.
They should do in 2028, they should do a 20th anniversary release of that film where they've just deep faked it with Mark Ruffalo. And while they're at it, deep fake William Hurt with Harrison Ford too.
Oh God. But and then obviously Cabin in the Woods is fucking great. I love that movie. So good credits to continue his career on. And if he's retired, good for him. Good for him,
Yeah. Freddy vs. Jason has an IMDb score of 5.7, Letterboxd score of 2.7 out of 5, and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 42%. 50% viewer score, which I thought was harsh.
Yeah, I think quite harsh.
Critics' consensus reads, this made me laugh. Fans of the two horror franchises will enjoy this showdown, but for everyone else, it's the same old slice and dice. It's like, who is everyone else? Who's watching this if you don't know who Freddy and Jason are?
Yeah, look, unless it's like your parents taking you that watched this series when they were kids. Like, I guess, obviously, yeah, there's gonna be new fans that are going. This will be their entry point movie. But again, if that's the case, if it's a new fan that this is their entry point, it's not the same old slice dice. This is their first time seeing this shit. And then for the new fans, they're already in. They're hooked. They've been there since day one on both franchises. They're hooked. No shit, critics.
It's so weird. It's like, yeah, of course the people this was made for will love it. But what about the rest of us? Like, you don't see it.
Yeah.
Else.
It's like, oh, I can't believe I just saw Godzilla versus Kong, an actual another solid fucking versus film that I like a lot. That does what's supposed to, which is give me a fucking fight that lasts more than 5 minutes. It's epic. I was like saying the same thing for that. Like, yeah, the people who like Godzilla and Kong gonna love this, but what about us? Like, well, clearly the title indicates it's not for you. But I mean, again, that's also a franchise that I had the constant thing of, man, no, the kaiju fights are awesome, but the character part, the human characters kind of suck. I'm like, who? I don't care. I was like, I do not care. In a movie with Godzilla or King Kong, I want to see them fuck shit up. I don't care about the human characters.
Yeah, same goes for this. I can't name a single of the many diverse human creative characters they give us, such as babysitter and friend and ex-boyfriend, and who could forget boyfriend's friend. I mean, come on. We're not here for them. We're here to see Freddy and Jason fuck each other up. That's why we're here. Let's stop acting like we're here for any other reason. This is not winning Best Actor at the 2004 Oscars.
There's certain movies, and again, a recent one in Cocaine Bear, that come out that the title says it all. And if you're not the audience for it, shut up and don't watch it. How's that sound? Stop ruining the fun for everyone else and let those who are in on this go have fun.
Yeah, I miss the days when people just watched movies they wanted to see, and movies they didn't want to see, they just didn't see them.
Yeah. God damn it. The title should give you if what are you thinking when you go into a movie called Freddy vs. Jason? What, especially with the poster, which has both their faces prominently on it, looking at each other. What were you expecting?
Oh, maybe this is Nora Ephron's new rom-com. Maybe this will be delightful. I'll take my mother. And then you're like, this is reprehensible. How could anybody? It's like you had all the information right there. Freddy versus Jason. That's Freddy Krueger. You may remember him. That's Jason Voorhees. You might remember him too. This see the verses there. It's bloody. Yeah, that's those are clues. Remember Blue's Clues? Clues.
You see that rating at the bottom? It says or
for graphic violence, nudity, language, everything the R rating exists to hold back from small-minded people like you.
Yeah. But you know what? We say like who does this, but the fact is, unfortunately, so many people don't pay attention to these things and go like, oh, that's the style of the movie. Let's go watch it. And then are appalled at what they say. And it's like, well, you didn't do the research, dumbass.
Dude, when I worked at Draft House and Deadpool came out, we had to put up multiple signs that said, Deadpool is not an MCU film. Deadpool is rated R for graphic violence, nudity, language. Do not take your child to see Deadpool. And without fail, at least once a week, some Karen to be like, how could you let my son see that horrible language? And it's like, lady, the movie's rated R. There were signs, the trailer, look some shit up. How far did you make it into the movie before you walked out?
You think most of them made to like the fucking the sex montage before they finally went, oh my god.
I mean, up to that point, you got some pretty strong language and some blood and some like I'm hoping they got the clue before then. Like
the pegging was the clue they needed.
But it's not the film's responsibility, it's not the theater's responsibility. If you can't handle certain shit, that's on you to learn what you can handle and go see things accordingly.
Yeah, and then stop trying to put, as we're seeing a lot nowadays, your religious views of life into my goddamn movies.
Yeah.
Unlike you people, I like sex and nudity in movies. Don't you take that away from me.
Freddy is Episcopalian and Jason is Orthodox Jew, but they make it work. And Michael's a Jehovah's Witness. He's a Jehovah's Witness. That's why he's constantly going to people's houses.
But only on Halloween.
Only on Halloween. He's not celebrating Halloween. He can't. He's a Jehovah's Witness. They don't do holidays. Oh boy. I want a short film of Michael handing out pamphlets. Like not saying anything, just knocking on a door. In one hand, he's got the knife. In the other hand, he's got a copy of The Watchtower. Oh boy. So despite being condemned by critics and fans alike, Freddy vs. Jason was still a huge hit, grossing 116 million on a budget of 30 million, making it the highest grossing film in either franchise. So they both needed to lean on each other for the best sort of success.
That's the moral of the story, is that they needed each other.
Yeah. Romance.
Instead of, no, it needs to be this kind of movie, but with this character in it. No, it needs to be this kind of movie, but with this character in it. No, this is who wins. No, this is who wins. Holy shit, just give me a movie.
It's so much easier when it's all under one, when one studio owns all this shit. That's why Marvel has had just, like, oh, we can throw Falcon in the Ant-Man movie. Sure, why not? But when it came to Spider-Man, they're like, Sony's like, well, what are you going to pony up? What do we get? He's got to do this. This has to happen. No, you can't have Venom. We're doing Venom. Like, oh, God, it's infuriating.
You know what I love is Sony only does it because they get fucking like checked so much. Like every time there's been reports of them saying like, okay, we're considering leaving and taking Spider-Man with us. Someone in Sony goes, no, where the fuck not? You go talk to Marvel right now. We are not ending this partnership.
Just picturing like that guy being like, what is it, Morbin time again? Sit the fuck down.
Yeah. It cracks me up. Both like I think like the 2 or 3 times we've heard reports of like the worry that they're going to split from the MCU. Every time it's like false alarm. Apparently someone talked to someone in Sony and no the fuck they're not. They've renegotiated. I'm like, you guys just keep trying. And I would have thought like you guys would be shitting yourselves when Disney just bought Fox to get X-Men and Fantastic Four back. Like they will do that to you somehow in a heartbeat.
I just can't wait. You think after No Way Home and how, everyone got a piece of the action on that one, they'd just be willing to not participate and take the check. Because if there's anything Sony loves doing, it's not trying. So why not just keep doing that? Everybody loves.
What's crazy, Sony doesn't even need, like, Sony is more than a movie studio. What people forget too is like they don't need this shit. Like PlayStation, for Christ's sakes, like they make PlayStations, they have TV, they have all this other shit that they do. Like, why are they so obsessed with the need to keep Spider-Man other than fucking ego and greed?
There you go. That's all. That's the only reason you need in Hollywood is, how can this benefit me and how much am I going to get for it? There you go.
Yeah.
Speaking of, there was supposed to be a sequel that crossed over with the Evil Dead franchise titled Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, but it was scrapped and turned into a limited comic series instead. And I personally want to know who had final say in scrapping it because they deserve to die for denying us the greatest movie of all time. Fuck whoever said no to this.
Yeah, and this is the thing though. This wasn't their first thought. Like they had like Freddy versus Jason versus Michael versus Leatherface. I think at one point they had versus Chucky. I think Pinhead was like Pinhead was huge on the table for a long time. Like I remember hearing about Pinhead for a long time.
Oh, we're gonna get into that towards the end of the show. Pinhead was the first draft.
Yeah, which I mean, if you can figure it out, may have been a cool ideal.
What I love that they were saying like, oh, we're gonna do a second film with any horror icons up, fucking Freddy versus Predator. Let's do it. And then they were like, oh, wait a minute, we got to pay for this.
I feel like all the studios reminded them. They went, well, are you going to pay us? They like went, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, it's like they're pitching it to like, Universal, and they're like, that sounds awesome. Let me just get my checkbook. Like, what? Well, yeah. How much you gonna give me for Predators? I thought we were cool. Like, is exposure, get your name out there. Get the fuck out of my office. I feel like that pitch happened a few times.
Right? They go to the fucking Accods. They're like, all right, so Michael, they're like, how much? I'm sorry, what? How much to put Michael in the movie? We were hoping you were just going to give it to us. No. No. Someone call Rob Zombie. That remake's happening.
See, now I'm picturing Freddy and Jason like going to like a house and saying like, "Can Michael come out and play?" And the Cods are like, "No," and Michael's just like sad, and they're like, "Oh," and they like walk away kicking rocks. It's like, "Oh man." Well, yeah, yeah, it sounded cool, but once you get money involved, all of a sudden everyone's saving for a rainy day and doesn't want to fork out the cash to rent Ash, and then we all lose.
Yeah, and then like if we're being honest, God, the fucking physical release for that, it would have to be like you better buy that Blu-ray or fucking 4K when it came out, because God knows how quick that would go out of print with that many people involved.
Do you put this in the Elm Street collection? Do you put it in the Jason collection? Does it go in the Evil Dead box set? Where do you put this fucker?
Yeah. Apparently they decided with Freddy vs. Jason to only put in the Friday 13th sets, and that's it. But what bugs me with this comic is that they were, for the first time ever in like comic history, they were fucking serious about limited edition. Because if you didn't get it when it came out, done. That shit's out of print. I'm like, why would you? Why? Why would you make it out of print? Like, god damn it. So even though it came out in comic book form, which they did make a sequel to the comic, you still can't fucking read it if you missed your chance, because shit's out of goddamn print. Why do we get so fucked on this sequel?
I don't know. I don't understand how in this day and age, when so much of culture is accessible all across the world, how anything can be out of print. I mean, dude, I've got a print right there. I could go take that to the company and be like, "Hey, make a million copies of this and send them out there for the world to see." But no, nobody does that.
Dude, I don't get it. Like, there's things I've looked up that I own in my collection just out of sheer curiosity. That is fucking gone. It's out of print. Like, apparently, I have the only copy. If anything happens to it, it's gone.
I know, isn't that weird? Like, I've got a few of those as well, where I just bought it for like $3 at a yard sale because I'm like, oh, cool, I don't have this, and it turns out that's one of like 15 copies left on the earth, and I better put it in a glass case.
Yeah, like there's some that I'm like, please don't ever. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to get fucking jinx myself. But I'm like, please don't let anything happen, because if something happens to this movie, I can't get another copy.
Yeah. This is why when I move out and I put a lot of my stuff in storage, the films come with me. The films I keep in the closet of my family's place and I guard them. Everything else I can lose. I can't lose those.
I took a chance when I moved here with the movers, and luckily I got everything. But I took a chance because I was like, well, I got to get this shit moved like across the state, across the country.
Oh boy. So let's discuss Freddy versus Jason. Talk about the movie. Uh, it goes pretty smoothly considering rampant producer interference and constantly changing script. What we got is a coherent film that I enjoy watching.
Which doesn't happen often in these cases.
It really does not. I love right from the get go the opening music that combines the Elm Street and Friday the 13th themes. That right there, I got chills. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, yeah. I love the opening narration with Freddy, and how they did find a very inventive way to do their best keeping the continuity going. To a degree, even though continuity obviously with this, but all these franchises is not their strong suit. But they found a way with the idea of like going off of like the later sequels of Nightmare, where the town's like knows who Freddy is. And they're trying to keep it hush hush, and he's not powerful anymore, so he needs to get his power back. And he's like, "How do I do that? I know someone that died."
Yeah, I love. He's like, I had to search the bowels of hell. He's like, he's gonna make him remember. Like he could just turn Jason on and be like, all right, make sure you tell him, this was Freddy.
Yeah, but and again, it to me it works because it's playing to both their strengths of, obviously Freddy having a personality, being able to talk. He has much more of like he's thinking a lot about what he's doing. Whereas Jason's just like, put me in there, coach. I'll kill them all. Like he's just a mindless.
He's the goalie.
Yeah.
Put me in,
So,
coach. I love that.
yeah. And like the movie plays into that really well. Again, a lot of this probably helped with the fact that they finally gave Ronnie Yu a lot of creative control, and you could tell he inherently understood both franchises, and he delivers what the audience wants and what we expect out of these characters.
True. I like, how Freddy uses Pamela to convince Jason, like, hey, mommy says go fuck up Elm Street. And Jason's like, you got it, Ma.
Did you hear? Did you see that they actually did talk to Betsy Palmer, but she had a salary dispute? I'm like, okay, like Betsy, no offense. In 2003, you want a hot ticket. You try like no offense to Betsy Palmer. Her, for someone who absolutely hated the fucking movie, she is great in the original Friday 13th. She is a very, very, to me, bright spot in that movie. But like, come on, are you really trying to pull a salary dispute with Freddy versus Jason? Like, Betsy.
It would have been cool to see her return briefly, but also like, from the studio's perspective here, we could get any old lady, and I don't think people will care that much.
Yeah, I mean,
Betsy Palmer did not have much of a bargaining chip here.
No, and that's why I say it's like I put all the blame on her, because like first off, they were just being nice to say like, hey, look, let's see if we can get her back, because fans would freak the fuck out.
Yes.
And then she's like, salary. She thought she had all this sway. Well, I want this much. And they went, no, we'll just find someone else, because at the end they don't carry on, do they? And guess what? We don't.
Just picture. I had that line from It's Always Sunny. So you come crawling back, you cheap sack of shit. Like that was her opener, and they're like, "Thanks, Betsy. We'll be in touch."
Yeah, look, I'm just a fan of like when actors kind of get checked in place like that. Like, obviously another big one, and I'm saying this knowing obviously, with his diagnosis, but the big thing with like Expendables 3, when like I think it was Bruce Willis was like mad that he was getting through $3 million for 4 days, and he's like, I want $1 million per day. You better give it to me. I won't be in your movie. And Stallone went, got you. You're fired. And the same day was like, hey, Harrison, you want a part in the movie?
He's like, as long as it's not in space.
Right? But it's just like, it's just fine. It's like, oh, well, ego checked right there. And didn't you, isn't it? Like, no, you are fucking replaceable. You are expendable, buddy.
My favorite one will always be Ja Rule for Too Fast, Too Furious, where he was like, "I'm the biggest rapper on earth, and I want all the money." And they're like, "There's like 50 other people we can call. We don't need you in the slightest."
Yeah, you're also not that big, Jar Wolf. Eminem can destroy your career and still talk about to this day.
Yeah, I think Ja Rule these days is known more for being associated with that like terribly executed music festival.
Yeah, he's associated with that and for getting his career crushed by Eminem. Like I remember when the whole MGK Eminem beef was going on, and he did the Kill Shot song. He mentioned the fucking Ja Rule thing, and I was like, God damn it, he is very happy about that.
Oh, Ja Rule, you poor misguided soul. Uh, does it bother you that the main character, like our hero, so to speak, is named Lori?
Uh, Not really, like kinda, but not
It's a
really.
little on the nose, isn't it? It's a little like, you know, we see you.
Honestly, I just felt like they don't have that many names in their pockets. I felt like these two gentlemen probably don't think too much into women's names, and they just went, yeah, sure, Lori, fuck it.
Yeah, Robert Shea knows Bob, he knows Lynn, and he heard Lori one time, so he went with Lori. um, yeah, so we meet our group of friends. There's Lori, who fell in love at 14 and then held on to that, and
Weird story elements finds them into the movie.
never made. I'm assuming these people are supposed to be 18. I guess I don't
They're
know.
3-year teenagers, dude.
Sure.
No teenager looks like Monica fucking Keena in this movie.
I know. I'm like, you must be an idiot because you got held back. Oh, like a few years. Yeah, her friend Kia. I remember I was thinking like it's a car. It's a car. Kia.
Yeah, played by fucking Kelly Rowland from Destiny's Child.
Yes. It was the only person I read in the trivia that like people keep trying to embarrass her in interviews for being associated with this, but she keeps owning it, being like, "Yeah, I had fun. It was a good movie."
That's how you do it. Like, yeah, don't be embarrassed. Like, yeah, you're in Freddy vs. Jason. It was a huge hit. There are people that like it, so own it.
Lori was very much like, "Yeah, it was a piece of shit, but I needed the exposure."
Yeah, and it was reflected in her lack of a career now, hasn't it?
Yeah, I can't name anything she was in, and I even though we're talking about it right now, I don't remember her real name, and I'm just going to keep calling her Lori.
It's
I'm
Monica
going
Keena. I don't know that much, but
to deny her that exposure.
yeah, it's hey, look, sometimes I like to think karma does exist because for her to say that, what she got was a career that didn't really take off because she was in that apparently horrid Night of the Demons remake. And she she dated Edward Furlong.
Ugh.
Like, for
But that
those
was
who,
but that was gross.
yeah, yeah. In case he was wearing, like, well, don't be mean. Look him up.
Yeah.
Look him up.
Uh,
Oh, yeah,
it looks
that's
like
her.
Nick Stahl, but without the talent.
Yeah, well, it's Kelly Rowland. Nick Stahl, at least, like, he cleaned up and still looks relative. He still looks like Nick Stahl. He looks fine. Um,
Is Jason Clarke like the only actor to play John Connor who didn't have some kind of like public meltdown?
I believe so. Um,
Anyway,
yeah, but yeah, and then you got Kelly Rowland, who is still super famous. Like, she's still Kelly Rowland, and she's very nice in this movie.
And there's Gib, their alcoholic, clearly submissive friend, who is just a sad sack the whole time.
I love, like, early 2000s onwards, like treatment of people drinking too much alcohol. It's just like, you crazy goose. God, you.
She was in Ginger Snaps, and
she's in a lot of horror stuff. She's awesome, actually.
Well, that specifically, Robert Englund was a big fan of Ginger Snaps and was very much looking forward to working with her. So that's cool to have like Freddy Krueger be like, "I'm a fan. I'm excited. I liked your movie." That's got to be awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Have you seen Ginger Snaps?
I have. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm a big fan of it, and she's popped up in other stuff. Catherine Isabel is her name. She's popped up in a bunch of different horror projects.
Well, they're having a fuck Mary kill conversation about the Three Stooges, as you know, teenage girls tend to do.
Yeah, right.
And
I love when dudes write for teenage women like, yeah, they watch Three Stooges and have conversations about who they fuck, marry, kill, right? No, they
like
don't.
any of them can name any of the Three Stooges, like a comedy troupe that was famous in the 40s. Seriously? I can barely name the Three Stooges. I forget from time to time.
Mo, Curly, Larry, and then Shrimp.
See, I know that today, but I might say like, Happy, Dopey, and Swampy.
I only remember because me and my dad used to watch it all the time when I was a kid. My
saw
mom
the
hated it, but me and my dad thought it was the funniest shit.
I saw the movie they did like 10 years ago, and I thought it's odd. I thought the three actors I thought were really good as the Stooges, but the movie was fucking stupid.
Mm. I mean, it's relying on humor that was funny back in like the 40s and 50s.
But anyway, what's his name? Trey. You can't have a horror movie with high school students and not have a douchebag named Trey. It's part of the rule.
Or a douchebag boyfriend that in real life people would be like, you need to break up with that dude. But in movies, they're like,
don't make me ask you twice.
Yeah. Oh, babe, did you smoke before I kiss you? No, I don't like it when you do that.
I don't like to be touched after. Jesus Christ. I was cheering for Jason to kill this fucker. Like, oh my God, what a horrible, despicable piece of shit.
See, you're like on the precipice of getting why people like Friday 13th because it's like, yeah, that's why people like it. They give us these type of characters so we can cheer when they die. Like, yes, Jason, for the love of God, kill
them. Blake, his friend, shows up and is like, hey, nice feng shui. Can I see your bedroom, babe?
God,
Lori's like, oh, as we all do.
First off, our friends are horrible for inviting these people over. Two, dude, like, are you serious? Like, your whole game is to sit there, scratch your crotch, because you're getting a nice shot of that. And then to be like, hey, the feng shui. Let's go to your bedroom. Like, Jesus, man.
Also problematic here. It's gonna make you dislike Ronnie Yu. He tried to force Catherine Isabel into a nude scene.
Yeah.
She, in her contract, stipulated no nudity. And then when the time came to shoot the shower scene, he was like, get naked. And she's like, the fuck you just say? And they argued about this because she was like, absolutely not. I'm not doing a nude scene. And he was like, come on, you have to. And they eventually settled on a body double. But the fact that he tried to basically, shame her into being nude in the movie, that's pretty fucked up.
Yep. That, good old pre-Me Too movement, right? Or pre-Me Too. Yeah, no, it's shitty. It's horrendous. And the fact that none of the producers came in and was like, hey, dude, in her contract, no, shut the fuck up. Film the scene.
Well, I don't think, in that situation, something tells me Bob Shea and Sean Cunningham are not going to be the allies you need.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a shitty situation. Obviously, Ronnie Yu's despicable for doing that, but to me, the producers are just bad because no one stepped in to be like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, we can film without that. It's fine. It's in her and the fact that he even had the gall to say, like, you have to. It's like, actually, no, because she signed a contract that a lot of actresses sign that dictates she does not want to show her naked body. That is her prerogative.
Yep.
So no, you actually don't. You actually can't, because in her contract she said no nudity.
Well, we get our first kill when Jason walks into the bedroom. Somehow he got in the house and up the stairs without anybody seeing him.
And he's a silent man. Dude, look, I used to be like, how? But like, let me tell you something right now. As someone who has a really small cat and a really big dog, right? My cat's a dumbass and thinks he can sneak past me. And then he ends up getting sprayed when I'm recording, like I just did like 2 minutes ago, because he's trying to do something he's not supposed to. My dog, who's much bigger, will fucking almost make me trip because he gets behind me without me knowing. So sometimes they may seem big. They can be sneaky.
I feel like if I didn't notice a 6'5", 300-pound dog walking behind me, that's totally on me. And I'm deaf. He's a big guy.
It's
Those stairs are
very
gonna creep.
light,
Those stairs are gonna creep.
very light steps.
Apparently, he's tiptoeing up there. But
Yes.
he stabs, yeah, tray open, cracks open a cold one, and Jason just stabs him multiple times. I feel like he's muttering under his breath, like, "You don't disrespect women like that." Like when he's stabbing, it felt so personal.
Usually it's all about like, you don't have sex before you're married, and you don't do drugs. But he's like, did you just disrespect that woman? It is 2003, sir. No.
If the stabs weren't personal, the folding of the fucking mattress was.
Oh, dude, that was the best part. Like it was like the most like it didn't need to be done. Like the guy's dead, but Jason just looked at him and like, I really hate this guy. Bam.
Yeah, and then he leaves. Doesn't kill Gib because he's like, everybody gets one, and then leaves. But again, nobody sees him. They all run out of the house screaming, covered in blood, and then one cop stops and he's like, "Excuse me, ladies, do you need some assistance?" Like very calmly as they're screaming in his face.
I do like when Catherine Ezra like slams her fucking hands on the window. Like, does it look like we need fucking assistance?
And he's the guy from Scary Movie, so I can't take him seriously, regrettably.
Oh yeah, I saw Scary Movie first, so I was like, hey, Scary Movie guy.
Oh my god, we hit a boot. Where's the foot? That's all I picture when I see that guy.
That's not my hand. Ray! Sorry.
Oh boy. So Blake is now in mourning. His best friend's been killed, Dad. And I love that he's set up as like, he's gonna take down Jason. This is the guy who's gonna do it. This is revenge. And he's immediately
Oh yeah, I love how it's apparently he just openly drinks in front of his parents. They have an alcoholic teenager that they're doing nothing about.
Well, to be fair, he did just, his best friend was just murdered. Maybe they're like, all right, you can have 2 beers and then you have to go to bed.
I don't think they give a shit because he even said you better watch your mouth. I was like, I think there's abuse going on in this household.
Well, I love when he's like, my best friend was just killed, Dad. So how about you give me some fucking space? And Dad just like, kids today, and just kind of goes back inside.
Yeah.
But then, Freddy tries to get Blake and can't. And Blake's like, whoa, I'm okay. And Freddy's like, well, I'll take a breather. Let Jason have one. And then Jason kills Blake immediately. And I'm like, oh, okay. So there goes our vengeance subplot.
Yeah, I love how Jason's just standing there.
Yeah, he does that.
I'll
He's
wait
like,
for him to wake up.
He likes, that's his favorite part, is being noticed.
Yeah, he's like, I'll wait. I want them to see me.
It's almost like Looney Tunes. I keep expecting him to be like, poke, poke on the shoulder. And then the guy turns around and holds up a sign that says like, yikes.
That means basically it's like a bear. You gotta act dead. So if he's poking you, just keep your eyes shut. Just you're asleep. Don't open your eyes.
Go limp. Hope Jason forgets he didn't stab you. They go to school, and I love the low budget Jay and Silent Bob who are passing out flyers. It's like, party tonight in the cornfield, man. It's gonna be crazy. You gotta get down there and have some brews, man.
Those guys crack me up, but I love more than anything about this scene and why it's always been weird to me is that Lori is having a conversation with her friends, and somehow, for some weird reason, everyone feels the need to stop and listen in this hallway. And I'm like, okay, guys, like we've all been to high school. If someone's having a moment in the hallway, no, I don't know anyone that would stop and look. Most people are just like, I gotta get out of this. Are trying to get out. Everyone's like, oh my god, we have to listen to this story because the plot demands it about Freddy Krueger.
Well, first off, nobody in there should even know who the hell Freddy Krueger is due to the town's cover up and careful work of that. But then Mark shows up and starts singing the song and is like, he only gets you, like he only sings that right before he gets you in your dreams and he's gonna kill you. Like, dude, you just escaped from a mental institute. Like, maybe don't draw attention to yourself like this.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, those two. I love how Will's like, dude, what the fuck? Why are you talking?
Yeah. Why are you scaring the shit out of her? Like, aren't we here to help?
Yeah. Like, what is wrong with you? But then when
later, he's like, oh shit, I fucked it up.
Yeah. No. And then what I love about these two that cracks me up is that when they run away, he's like, dude, it's the principal, who was played by Bob Shea. For those who are wondering. Can't help himself. Has to be the Hitchcock of fucking franchises, I guess. Um, but like when they're like getting away from the principal, any smart human being would have left the school to continue making sure they get away. They hang around. They hang around. They're going to the fucking vending machine, and then the cops come in like, "Oh shit, we gotta go." I'm like, "Why didn't you guys just fucking leave?"
You want to talk about intelligence? How about the cop who comes up behind them and is like, "Well, if it isn't Will and Mark," like alerting them. They didn't see him. He's like, "Hey,
Yeah.
who just escaped? I'm gonna get you." And they're like, scatter.
Yeah, and it takes a fucking a 5-minute transition to the next class to get them lost in the crowd of high schoolers. I'm like, okay, the smart thing to do was be one, don't announce your presence at school. Two, don't go to the fucking school that if you're an escaped fucking mental patient, essentially. Not that they're mental in the movie, obviously, but you know what I mean. And three, when you do get caught, don't hang around where you got caught. Leave. Get out.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. So that Freddy attacks the kids a couple times at the school, doesn't get anybody. He still can't do it.
I do like the got your nose and like takes off her nose.
Apparently Jason can't kill in broad daylight.
It's against his moral fiber. Until the 2009 movie. And it has to be on his own turf.
Jason, I'm picturing like Jason knows Camp Crystal Lake by heart. This is a new town. I imagine he spends a lot of it like looking at maps and shit, trying to figure out like where he is.
I love the idea of him in full Jason attire, like in the library, just looking shit up. Like, all right, if I go here.
I'm picturing Jason walking into a convenience store, grabbing a map, and then like walking out, and then walking back in and grabbing like a box of donuts or something and going back out. And then like walking around Springwood with the map open, like looking at road signs and like trying to figure out like trying to get to that cornfield.
Where's this fucking cornfield? I heard there's going to be teenagers there. I'm going to find it.
Freddy's like checking in. It's like, are you there yet? And Jason's like, is there a water tower? I see a water tower. Like, is it close? It's like, what water tower? Damn it, Jason. It's almost sunset.
Supposed to make them fear me. What are you doing? Try not to get lost. Before we talk about this part though, I do, because we haven't really mentioned it, but I do really like how this film does the Freddy subplot of like the town taking all the children. To me, that's the most horrifying part of the storyline, actually, is taking all the children unwillingly to a fucking asylum and drugging them to make sure that they can repress this Freddy shit.
Wouldn't it have been way easier and less like horrific to just drug everybody with that hypnosil shit all the time? Like put that in the town's water supply or something?
Probably, yeah.
Everybody doesn't have dreams.
Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way they do it's poor. Like, okay, your life is done. You're done. You're staying here because we don't need you talking about this guy that kills people in their dreams.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, it worked for a while.
Yeah,
So Freddy's like, mounting his comeback album.
Right. I almost said knock you out. I don't know why that's the one that came in my head, but
Never Sleep Again featuring Jason Voorhees.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. But
it is a good. I like that they brought Weston Hills back into this, keeping continuity nice and tight.
And as tight as they could make it,
tight as they could, yeah. So the rave in this cornfield, I guess every fucking kid in town is going to this rave, including the nerdy kid who ends up there by accident.
Yeah, he is by accident. And also, can I just say, I've made in my notes, Kelly Rowland's character is bitching to him for no fucking reason. Like, I actually really like when he tells her off, because I'm like, yes, go, because she's a ass to you for no reason
whatsoever. Because he's a short nerd who's into her best friend. So she's like, ew, short nerd. Get him out of here.
She like I'm gonna say it. She is the best friend that I think secretly we all hate, which is the one that like if anyone goes to talk to that woman, she comes in like, hey, and it's like, holy shit. You know what I mean? The ones that are almost like too overprotective. You're like, okay, you don't need to be a bitch to everyone.
I think she wants to fuck Lori. That would explain everything.
That would explain everything, actually. I mean, don't blame her, but yeah, no. This look to me, this is the centerpiece before the main event. Like, obviously, we're here for the fight, but like, this is such a great centerpiece moment for like giving us what we obviously want to see these two do, other than what the title gives us. But like, hey, look, we're going to at least have them have their moment where they hack and slash real quick before we get them. And this is a great way to do it with this little rave scene. It's so good.
True. Basically, Lori's there to get her mind off of things. And I love when Gib walks past Jason Mewes being like, yeah, man, like Trey was cut open like a pig. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. And she goes and gets drunk, sees Trey's disembodied head being like, hey, don't make me ask you twice. I just fucking hate that line so much.
God.
And she almost gets raped by Billy Idol's stand-in.
That part is still kind of uncomfortable to watch. Like, part of me wonders if that was like Ronnie Yu's way of getting back for the fight about the naked stand-in.
Well, I love, once again, Jason comes back and it's like, you don't disrespect women like that, and stabs him and throws him away.
Yeah, granted, he kills her in the process, but
true, but he doesn't, he kills her quickly.
Yeah, he does.
He doesn't violate her.
Yeah, to his credit, he does stop him. He's like, whoa, no, not in my house.
Everyone Jason kills in this movie has it coming and is like, it's very rewarding.
Yeah.
I do like that he snatches one away from Freddy. Like, just as Freddy's about to do it, she gets stabbed and her blood gets on Freddy's face, and he's like, "You motherfucker!" She was fine.
I love that. He's like, mine. Yeah,
that's when Freddy realizes we might have a problem on our hands.
It's like, yeah, you unleash something that just only kills. I feel like though, Jason, like the actual rave part, that was just him exercising some demons. That was him being like, oh my god. There's a whole lot of you here. I'm fucking y'all up.
It is so funny. Right from when that guy was like, dude, this Everclear is kicking my ass. He's drinking a pitcher of Everclear. He's going to be dead before this is over.
Like, yeah.
Jesus, man.
I mean, Jason took care of him, but yeah. I like when they put him on fire and he is unfazed. He is just like, fuck you.
I love when they're like, hey, Jethro, if the farm's that way, like, why would you like challenge this dude? I mean,
they were drunk.
I know, but still, like, you'd think that would sober you up really fucking quick, is like that dude popping up behind you.
Yeah, right. And again, how much cooler would this scene have been with Kane Hodder? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Fucking these people up on fire. Because as we talked about, he, to his credit, is still willing to do fire stunts. Again, if you have not checked out that documentary, ladies and gentlemen, check it out.
True. But when he's slicing them up and just like not even aiming, it's just like it reminded me of Monty Python and the Holy Grail when Lancelot goes insane and starts slicing up the wedding.
Oh yeah. I love how the teenagers are trying to escape or try to fight him. He just like grabs him and is like,
one for you and one for you. He's just he's like a kid in a candy store.
Oh yeah. Dude, I love the ending shot of like him hitting the fucking keg of beer and it like sprays him and the flames go and he just turns around and you're like, oh shit, now he's not on fire anymore.
I would love if, like he drank a good chunk of that Everclear and then like chugged that can of like keg of beer and we got like fucked up Jason who's just like, he starts going like, woo, like talking for the first time and it's just blitzed off his ass and starts just slicing everything. I would have loved that. Everyone would have hated it, but I would have loved that.
I love how I would point out the amount of teenagers that do escape and like I would love the follow up to this of like the people being like, okay, look, so I know you've been trying to suppress this whole Freddy Krueger thing. Are we going to talk about the guy the fucking with the machete and the hockey mask killing also? Because holy shit,
that kind of comes up in the car, but like they just immediately are like, no, we're not going to talk about that. Like Freddy's the bigger threat. Like one of the person says, one of the guys in there says, like that fucker in the hockey mask was real. Like he's right there. I'm going to be afraid of him. I love the Jason Mewes guy is like, man, that goalie was pissed about something. That was a great line.
That was good, yeah.
All right. So Mark gets killed after he falls asleep, even though he's the guy who's like, we shouldn't fall asleep, and I know exactly what's going on. And Freddy's like, well, I'm going to kill him. That'll benefit everyone.
I actually really like this fucking sequence when it's like it's again that ideal of like when Freddy, to me, the ideal version of Freddy, which is using his dead brother, which is so fucked up, to get to him, but it's still his version of humor, his dark ass humor, shining through. Because it's funny to Freddy. Freddy thinks it's fucking hilarious, but you're horrified. You're like, whoa, no.
The snakes that become like bolts in his feet, and the message he leaves on his back, Freddy's back. Great. And now the guy who knows the rules is dead.
Yep.
Well, they figure out we got to go to Weston Hills and get some of that sweet hypnosil. And
get them drugs.
Yeah, we got drugs are the answer. That's how you stop pedophiles. They go to Weston Hills and they start looking for this stuff. And of course, Jason Mewes. I know it's not really Jason Mewes, but he's clearly channeling Jay here.
Even if he's not, they look oddly similar.
Look and sound. They're even wearing the same shit. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He gets super stoned and smokes pot with a Freddy worm thing. And Freddy worm thing possesses him. And
which is kind of a nice nod to Nightmare on Elm Street 2, of Freddy possessing people.
Yeah.
I'm sure the fan base loved that in 2003.
And another Freddy worm thing, except this time, the guy's eating him.
Yes. And CGI over practical. But I mean, hey.
Yeah.
Early 2000s.
I love that Dream Worm Freddy has some good shit.
Yeah. I do like when he possesses him, like they're all running away, and the whole like, I gotta take care of this. Let me take care of this bitch. But he says it in like Freddy's voice.
Let me handle this bitch. And the guy's just like, all right.
Okay.
And he tranks Jason. I do like that he gets him, and then like Jason cuts him in half. That was cool.
Yeah, we also lose the scary movie cop in this sequence.
I know. I was hoping he was gonna last, but he gets a brutal death. I love that like Jason just grabbed him and electrocuted him. That was cool death. We don't see a lot of electrocution in slasher films.
We know. Jason is an opportunist. Even when he's about to die, he's like, no. If I'm going to get electrocuted, bam, now you're going.
God, this dude, this is like his first week on the job. He's been transferred to Springwood, and everyone's like, don't talk about the dream killer. And there is no hockey mask guy. Play ball, or you're getting put on the desk. And the guy's like,
play ball?
What's happening right now?
Play ball or you walk.
So Stoner guy drops Jason. They tie Jason up and put him in the van. I don't know how the fuck they pulled that off.
I have questions about that.
And at some point they're like, hey, Jason's afraid of water and Freddy's afraid of fire. Maybe we use that. And then they never once used that.
Yeah, this is the one thing with Ronnie Yu, because I've seen like all the bonus features on this thing, and he talked about it. I disagree with him putting it into the movie, because it's like neither one of these films, at least Friday 13 has never established Jason being afraid of water. Like there's so many instances of Jason using the water to get people. Yeah. And Freddy, I think established that Freddy's not the biggest fan of fire. Like he tries to avoid it, obviously, but like he'll do what's necessary to kill someone. You know what I mean? And also in this movie, he goes, "Oh, they're deathly terrified of the things that killed them." It's like, nah, what?
No. If anything, Freddy should be afraid of pissed off parents, and Jason should be afraid of camp counselors.
Yeah, but I mean, he's exercised that fear by killing them constantly.
Yeah, he's not afraid of counselors. He'd just be happy if there weren't any left.
What if all the killing was like a cry for help? It wasn't out of malice, it wasn't out of hate, but it's just because he saw counselors and he got scared. And he went, "Oh my god!" And he just like hacking and slashing out of pure fear.
The last image is like he meets his mom again. He goes in, for a hug, and he sees a badge on mom's chest that says like Counselor Pamela, and he's like, no, no. And then he realizes, wait a minute, they're just people. Yeah, I'd see that. Their plan is to drive Jason to Crystal Lake and hope that they can drag Freddy out of Dream World and they'll fight there because Jason will already be home, so he won't have any reason to kill them. I mean,
granted, not by the logic of the films before, not flawed logic. Jason, to his credit, unless it was like takes my hat or something, he tended to stay in his camp.
That's true, unless you dragged him out of there because you needed some help reclaiming your territory in Springwood.
Yeah, unless he got dragged out, he stayed there. So, and we've established that in part of Friday or Nightmare films, you can pull Freddy out into the real world. So technically, again, playing within the logic set up in prior films.
True, but how do these people know any of that?
No, that's never explained. Also, apparently, Crystal Lake is really close to Elm Street or Springwood, at least.
Yep, Crystal Lake is, on the coast or whatever. It's near there. You got Springwood, which I'm pretty sure is a suburb of Haddonfield. It's all one little world.
Yeah.
You think the Elm Street people were like hearing about the Crystal Lake murders while Freddy was also fucking them up?
Yeah, they're just saying, at least we're not those guys.
Yeah, I would love if just in one of the Elm Street movies, the teenagers were like, we gotta last till summer, and then we get to go to camp. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna go to Crystal Lake, and everything will be great. We just gotta hold Freddy off until then. There's no psycho killers at summer camp.
I would love that, and then one that survives both. Like it ends with like, okay, let's. You know what? I know this nice little town to move to. It's called Haddonfield.
You get a little keyboard action there.
They move there, and then they quickly realize on Halloween they've made a horrendous mistake.
Oh my god! They fall asleep on Halloween. Michael's about to fuck them up. Freddy shows up. Hey, they're asleep. This is mine.
This is mine. But wait, I thought Elm Street's everywhere, bitch.
And Michael doesn't say a word. He just tilts his head, raises his hand, flips Freddy off, and Freddy's like, "You motherfucker!" Now they have a beef. A Nightmare on Halloween. That's the name of the movie.
Halloween on Elm Street.
That's a better title. I like that. Yeah, let's make this happen. Somebody call the Akats.
Michael versus Freddy. Freddy versus Michael. Who gets the first goddamn name?
I say Freddy because then you Freddy versus Jason, Freddy versus Michael. You keep him as the through line until he finally fights Ash in the last movie.
If they need if they had to have a unanimous vote just to be a dick, I'd be the one guy that goes like Michael versus Freddy. just to upset the everyone else.
Freddy versus Jason 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Freddy versus Jason 2. It's personal this time in Haddonfield.
Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Which they could use again if they want. So in Dream World, Freddy has control over Jason, who's like throwing him around like ping pong, just fun.
Essentially, round one of our epic versus fight.
Yeah, Jason cuts his arms off, and Freddy's like, "Ah, gotcha," and traps him in a water thing. And Jason's like, reverts to a child and wearing a hockey mask. And right there, I was no longer afraid of Jason Voorhees ever. Seeing a child with a hockey mask on ruins the character's fear factor.
Well, I mean, again, it's them having. Look, I know I just kind of gave a shit about it. I know what they were doing. I know it was like they have to have some kind of weakness for us to watch these two fight. And I'm like, okay. And it is a cool part when he's getting ready to hit him and he just stops, and then Freddy looks at him and is like, "Oh, so you're afraid of something." It's a cool moment.
Yeah.
But it's like, again, it's just like, oh, okay, so all of a sudden he is terrified of water. He never has been in prior films.
Lanny
Uh,
starts drowning apparently, and their solution is we got to give Jason mouth to mouth, like he's not a eternal, a zombie with eternal life who's gonna not die.
I wouldn't ever try to revive that thing. I'd be like, can we just stay away from the big guy with the machete who's been killing indiscriminately?
Yeah, I'd be like, why aren't we chopping this fucker up with a chainsaw and hiding his body parts in different counties? Like he's unconscious. We're not gonna get another chance like this.
Yeah.
Would that stop Jason? You think if you chopped him into like 15 pieces and hit him in different states?
I want to say yes, but I'm sure they'll find a way to fucking bring him back.
Yeah, some jackass is like, I just got to find his crotch, and then we'll have a full Jason. Has anyone seen Jason's crotch?
I need Jason's dick. God damn it!
Friday the 13th, part 13, the search for Jason's dick.
We estimate it to be at a modest 7 inches. All right,
and that's soft. He doesn't have any blood flow. He hasn't been hard in a very long time.
we don't know if he's a grower or we don't know.
Oh boy! So Jason gets up right before Kia's gonna give him mouth to mouth, and flips the fucking van. And
it's an epic flip.
And Lori manages, finds out Freddy killed her mom, and manages to drag him back to our world. And now Jason's got home advantage and fucks Freddy up.
I love this moment when like he realizes he is no longer in his domain, and like the rock music for No God just starts kicking in, and he's just turning around, and you're just like, oh shit, here we go. And yeah, Jason looks at him like, oh, you thought you fucked me up, asshole? Watch this.
Nobody pretends to be my mommy.
You're in my ward, motherfucker.
I love when Jason just picks him up and drags him through the windows, and Freddy's just like, ah, screaming and flailing. He was not prepared for how this day went.
No. He's like, wait, no, this is the real ward. He can hurt me.
And the fight's pretty one-sided. Jason, is taking this guy out. When Freddy doesn't have superpowers, he's just kind of a janitor with a glove.
I do like how somehow Freddy escapes him at one point, and then like Kelly Rowan has the big old like, I can't repeat all the lines she says to Freddy because she uses a certain word we can't use. Yeah. Which I always forget when I watch them. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that word. But I love when she's saying things to him and he like points behind her. And she's just like, he's behind me, isn't it? And he's just like, mm-hmm. And you see Jason's like, that's my kill, bitch. And like fucking just whacks her with the damn machete.
Into the tree. In the original draft, she was supposed to go up to Jason and be like, I'm not afraid of you anymore. You have no power over me. And Freddy's like, he goes, wrong one, bitch. And Jason kills her immediately. That would have been pretty good.
That would have been good too. I mean, I like what we got because he fucking, I did not know it was possible to just like fling a machete into someone's neck and fling them across the area into a tree like he did. But I love how that's just like, I feel like he just did that to be like, oh, you're in the way. I got some beef with that motherfucker over there.
I like when they're in like the construction area and Jason gets like impaled by all the rods, and then Freddy fucking falls off the ledge and like it's his foot caught on the big thing, and he's just like being bashed into the wall. And he's just,
I love our, yeah, no. He's like, oh shit.
Will and Lori start, dousing the dock in oil because they want to contribute. And Jason and Freddy, start ripping things off each other. I like when Freddy cuts off his fingers and gets the machete. It's like Freddy's got the machete. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like trying to slice at Jason. He clearly has no fucking clue how to use this thing.
No, he doesn't. I love that. I love how Jason like cuts one of his damn arms off.
And then later stabs him through the back with it. Freddy's claws coming out of his chest.
Oh yeah. Well, okay, so before that, I love how Robert England Freddy is just walking across this dock, clearly pissed off because his day has gone south. He's just the way he walks and races that fucking machete at them, like, you've ruined my day.
Well, then I love Jason gets one last stab in and then like flops back into the water. He's like, "Gotcha, bitch," and then goes right back in the water. And Freddy drops the machete. Lori picks it up, and Freddy's just looking at her like terrified. Oh, she cuts his head off. He falls into Crystal Lake. That's the end of Freddy and Jason, or so we thought.
One of the best sequel teases to a sequel we never got. I love this end to this day. Seeing Freddy or Jason walk out of the damn water. Now also not afraid of it. But walking out of the water, holding Freddy's goddamn severed head, and he just winks at the camera. I remember watching that thinking, like, how did we never get a fucking sequel with that kind of ending, you assholes?
I hope Jason went full Ed Kemper on Freddy's head.
You're
and
saying,
if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it.
You're for those who don't know, you're saying you wanted him to fuck his head.
I think that would be the ultimate. I mean, if you really want to scar a man like Freddy Krueger, you have Jason Voorhees fuck his head.
Can you imagine if like he just like took off all his teeth so he can't bite, and he's and he's just like every day, just like, oh god, all right, time there, Fred.
Oh my god, I was thinking just going through the throat. That's even worse.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know what? Wear it as a cup. Jason just puts it on and just goes about his day.
I would honestly facial Freddy every goddamn day as a dominance thing.
That goes on for like 15 years until Jason gets frozen and ends up in space. And they find Freddy Krueger and he's like just catatonic and like just like completely broken as a human being. And they're like, "What the hell happened to you?" And he's like, "I don't want to talk about it. I'll just go back to the dream world. You'll never hear from me again." I'm sorry.
Yes.
That's how Freddy learned empathy.
They're just sitting there going, "What's that tray on you? Don't touch it."
He'll be mad. We don't want to make him mad. Oh, this is fucked up. Oh my god. We're basically saying that a good alternate ending to this would be Jason Voorhees essentially raping the identity out of Freddy's head.
Yeah, that's what I was saying when I said facial. He is humming on that face every single day to show dominance over Freddy.
Oh god.
God.
Well, that was fun. Here are some FILMGAZM facts for Freddy versus Jason. Number one, the lake at Camp Crystal Lake was also being used to film the final scenes for X2 at the same time that this movie was being filmed. So Camp Crystal Lake and Alkali Lake are the same lake.
The fuck? Okay.
The two film casts even stayed at the same hotel.
That just makes me more annoyed that it's not Kane Hodder, because that means that all those young excited X-Men people could have fucking met Kane Hodder, or he would have been like, "Hey, I'm Jason." Oh my god! See, you know how much if he had known that, he would have been like, "Hey, put me in costume, do not take me out of it," and he would have gone to fuck with them.
I guarantee you, he would have impressed the right people, and Kane Hodder would have been Juggernaut in X-Men 3.
Probably. I feel like the only person he probably would not have scared is Hugh Jackman. He'd be like, if anything, he'd be like, "Oh shit, it's Wolverine. I gotta get no."
We could have had a little fun, YouTube video of Wolverine fighting Freddy Krueger. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Well, Bryan Singer got to appear on set during Jason's first kill to see Jason's costume and commented, "They got the makeup right." So
sweet, awesome, Bryan Singer.
Yeah.
I don't want to give that man too much attention, but all good for him. For those who don't know, he faced a lot of sexual misconduct allegations.
Yep. And then he hasn't been seen publicly in quite a while because I'm pretty sure those were true.
Yeah, and by a lot, I mean a lot.
Number 2, Ronnie Yu originally turned down the directing job because the script didn't indicate who won at the end, and he admittedly wasn't a fan of either movie franchise.
I think if I'm correct, he wasn't even a fan of the Chucky franchise. He just was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it.
Why would you hire a guy who doesn't like Elm Street or Friday the 13th to helm the crossover? Why did they do this? Why do producers keep giving directors who don't give a fuck about the IP like a chance to direct films in the franchise? It's crazy to me.
I mean, luckily it worked out in this case, but it is insane. It's like, oh my god. And then they sit there and be like, there's no clear winner. Okay, and there was no clear winner. Well, there was kind of a clear winner in Godzilla and Godzilla versus Kong. Yeah, but also we
friendship. That was the winner.
But yeah, it's like no one cares. Like, look, I think I could care less who wins.
Let's be totally honest here. Jason won this fight.
Oh, 100% Jason won that fight. Yeah. I'm sorry,
Freddy
but
he got impaled by his own claw and decapitated, and Jason walked out of the lake holding the dude's severed head. Freddy did not win this fight. This was not a draw.
We'll call it a draw.
Mortal Kombat fatality that burned motherfucker. And
what are you going to do? Bite me to death?
I'm invincible. Yeah. You're a loony.
God. But it's Jason won. And also like the most he lost was like a couple of fingers. And I'm sure he would have somehow had those fingers back. And as we saw in the Halloween trilogy recently, Michael operated without his fingers. Well, granted, he didn't really do shit in Halloween Ends, but I mean,
he lost a couple fingers. We can all live without a couple fingers. Well, Ronnie Yu did agree to take the job when Bob Shea told him, well, you get to decide who wins the fight. And Yu's like, I'll take it.
Yeah. And what's funny is like, okay, he did decide, but I mean, technically, yes, Jason's the clear winner, but he also did it in a way that, who really won? Because there's going to be a sequel because Freddy's still alive. Ha ha ha.
I'm sure Bob Shea walked up and is like, so you went with Jason, huh? Okay, well, we got to have a talk, Ron. And if he'd picked Freddy, Cunningham would have come up and be like, oh, so you went with Freddy? Well, we got to talk.
And then at that point, who's worse? Because one is already pissed off that Kane Hodder's not in the movie. The other one, more than likely, I'm going to say it right now, clearly probably had a hand in making sure Kane Hodder was not in the movie. So it's like,
yeah, what a control in quotes here.
Yeah, look, I'm just saying, knowing the little things I know about Bob Shea, I am almost like pretty confident he is the reason that Kane Hodder wasn't. I'm sure it was a fucking petty thing with him.
Most likely, I would agree with you. Number 3, in several early drafts of the script, 2 twists were considered that would have connected the pasts of Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees. One of them was that Freddy either raped or had a consensual sexual encounter with Jason's mother, and as a result, was Jason's father. What? He's Jason Krueger.
That's strange. Maybe, the Crystal Lake show on Peacock will elaborate on that.
God, they introduce, mom's new boyfriend, and it's fucking Robert Englund. Everyone will lose their fucking minds.
But then they skirt around it. They just keep calling him Fred. They never say his last name.
Oh, my God. And later on, like a season later, they introduce her next boyfriend, and that's Freddy Krueger. It's not even Robert Englund. It's Jackie Earle Haley. Oh, boy. So that was one.
That's weird, but okay.
That was one twist. The other one was that Freddy had worked at Camp Crystal Lake in the past and had either molested Jason as a child or was somehow connected to his drowning, being a child murderer and sex offender, thus giving Jason a motivation to track down and kill Freddy. So Freddy was going to be the one who drowned him.
Why did they feel the need to have them so connected like this? Like, why?
I guess to make it personal.
Like, I'm glad they went with the direction they went because it works way better. But why was their first thing to be like, okay, we have to make this personal? No, you don't. No, you do not.
Both ideas were eventually dropped as producers felt they were too contrived and too dark. They were too dark for a Friday the 13th Nightmare on Elm Street crossover.
It's one thing to kill kids. We cannot have us explicitly state he is a child molester, people.
They didn't. Isn't that like common knowledge? Freddy's a.
It's common, but if you watch movies, it's not explicitly stated. They kind of skirt around it. And then the remake kept doing that weird bullshit of like, did he? Didn't he? Did he? Did he? You know, did he? Did he not? Did he? Did he not?
He's already the bad guy. Wait, what are you? What are we losing here?
I have no idea. I cannot tell you.
Number 4. In one of the original endings, Freddy and Jason continue their battle in hell when suddenly Pinhead from Hellraiser steps out of the shadows and separates them. He then calmly asks, "What seems to be the problem, gentlemen?" This was scrapped due to licensing issues, as Miramax owned the rights to Hellraiser, and they didn't feel it was worth paying for a brief cameo.
Well, that and also, I mean, in that case, I know I made the jokes earlier, but I think also probably those two not wanting to deal with the Weinsteins because those guys were notorious with how they handled the rights to their shit. So
Also,
I'm sure it was like, we're
this
not
shit
doing
would have overshadowed the whole damn movie if all of a sudden Pinhead shows up at the end and is like, "Hey guys, welcome to my world."
it would have. I mean, if there was a guaranteed sequel, like you were for sure going to get, Freddy versus Jason versus Pinhead, or whatever the fuck they would have called it. Because God bless, we try to figure out who gets first billing in the name on that one. Especially dealing with the Weinsteins. Now you have the third ego trip there to deal with. If that was like a guaranteed thing, like was going to happen, I would have been down for this. And I would have been like, this is the most epic fucking kind of tease you could have done. As like maybe like a post credit or mid credit scene, like you still have the great awesome film we're enjoying, but then you have like this tease of Pinhead, just Doug Bradley at this time too, Pinhead coming out going, I've been, whatever line he would have said, and then it would have been like, holy shit, bring this sequel on.
You know what I would have done, which I think would have been really neat? Make part 2 a Prison Break movie where Freddy and Jason work together to escape Pinhead's hell. And in doing so, recruit a whole bunch of other random monsters they meet down there, such as Leatherface or, Billy Loomis or Chucky, just for brief cameos to help them out with something. And then they escape hell that way.
Oh, that would have been epic. If they could have found a way to pull that off. Yeah.
Yeah. They could call it Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. Part 2.
I was like, title already taken, but
Part 2.
That is not going to get butts and seats.
Freddy and Jason go to Hellraiser.
Hellraiser, not in space.
Oh, that would have been neat though. Expensive, but neat.
Yeah, like I said, the only way that would have worked is if there was a guarantee we were going to get that follow-up film and all that stuff, because it would have been neat. It would have been a really cool way to fucking tease what would be to come.
True. If only studios could understand the benefit of working together and making money for everybody.
You're asking too much out of them.
I know. It's fucking obnoxious. I give Freddy versus Jason an 8. It's a fun movie. What more could you want? I don't know what more you're trying to get out of a movie like this. It's Freddy versus Jason. They fight. That does happen. I liked it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's an 8. I think it takes the best qualities of both franchises, and it gives us obviously them doing their thing at first before we finally get a fight that, unlike a law versus fight, actually lives up to its title. You got, to me, I always say you got 2 fucking rounds. One and one. One's the main one, the other's the main, and they're it's rated R. They're not holding back. They're going at it. It's a lot of fun. It sucks. It sucks the shit that was pulled to apparently just keep Kane Hodder from playing Jason. But it's our final time seeing Robert Englund as Freddy. Absolutely worth it. And Ken Kirzinger does do a good job as Jason. It's cool seeing them duke it out. Fun movie. 8 out of 10 for me as well.
Yeah, very good. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. If you like the show, feel free to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at FILMGAZM Productions. If you want to suggest films for us to check out, you can email us at filmgasm@gmail.com, or, of course, send us a message through the socials. Check out our Letterboxd accounts for daily reviews. You can search me at Connor95, and in my friends list, you can find the rest of the team. If you want to support the show through Anchor, you can click on Support This Podcast on your preferred provider. We appreciate it. And that's it. That's the end of this phase of FILMGAZM Productions. Going forward, we'll have one all-encompassing show, still releasing on Wednesday mornings, that celebrates all genres of film and lets us do whatever kind of show we want to do. It'll be such a blast. Very off the cuff, loosey-goosey. Expect the first episode of the new and improved FILMGAZM podcast in the next couple of weeks. Thanks so much for listening to anything we've had to say over the past 4 years. I want to thank my reliable and creative podcast team for sticking with this for so long now. Caleb Leger, Austin Johnson, Josh Allred, Colton Jenkins, and newcomers Isabel Gonzalez, Christian Aguilar, Jeremy Johnson, and Adam Johnson. I thank my lucky stars that I met each and every one of you. You all bring something different and exciting to the table every time you record, and I can't wait to embark on the next phase with y'all. See you in a few weeks.